Chapter 976. Wang Daoyuan planned to head to the Qixing Sea Shuxian community, but this matter was not urgent. If he stayed in Beiyuan Shuxian, even if the spirit demons knew that he killed Hun Ju, it would not be a big deal. As long as there were no Stage 6 spirit demons, Stage 5 spirit demons would be courting death. Wang Daoyuan not only wanted to go to the Sea of Seven Stars to find an opportunity to break through, but also to establish the Wang family's power there. The Qixing Sea Shuxian community was also north of the decimating heaven abyss. Although the two places were separated by the vast sea, the 10,000 corpse spiritual master could come over with his demon beast avatar. Other Imperial Regency disciples could also come to Beiyuan with their demon beast avatar. If left alone, it would be a huge threat to Beiyuan Shuxian. Moreover, Beiyuan Shuxian had declined to this extent, but there was still a Son of Providence. The resources in the Sea of Seven Stars were much better than in Beiyuan. The possibility of another Son of Providence appearing was very high. If he did not make arrangements in advance, when that Son of Providence unified the Sea of Seven Stars, Beiyuan would only be conquered. There was the Blue Dragon ruins in the east of the Sea of Seven Stars, which had a Stage 7 spirit vein. If there were Mahayana cultivators hiding there, then the north of the decimating heaven abyss would belong to them. For Grand Ascension stage cultivators, spatial barriers were no big deal. If he wanted to make the north of the decimating heaven abyss into his backyard, he had to eliminate this threat. The Blue Dragon ruins was too dangerous. Those below the Mahayana realm had no confidence in surviving, so he could not think about it for the time being. However, he still had to make plans in the Sea of Seven Stars. It was still unknown when the War of Providence would break out. If he did not make preparations as soon as possible, it would be too late when the War of Providence approached. If he could not subdue the Qixing Sea Shuxian community, there was no hope of winning the War of Providence. The two cultivation worlds were too far apart. Even a Stage 5 flying ship would take several years to fly. Wang Daoyuan had the Spirit Gathering Pearl and could use the space of the Spirit Gathering Pearl to restore its spiritual power. In the future, if he were to transfer his clansmen over, he would not be able to drift on the sea all day. If the clansmen relied on spirit stones to drive the flying boat, a few 100,000 high-grade spirit stones would be gone after a single trip. With the Yen Kingdom's resources, how could they withstand such a consumption? Moreover, the two places could not be cut off. Otherwise, a portion of the clansmen would be stranded overseas, and it would be difficult to ensure that they were united with the clan. If he wanted to use Beiyuan and the Sea of Seven Stars as his rear, he must have the ability to mobilize resources. There had to be communication between the two places, and they had to be able to transport supplies to each other. This required the establishment of a transfer station between the two places, as well as a relatively reliable large-scale flying artifact. The distance between the two places was too far. It was impossible to set up a transfer station in a short period of time. The only thing he could do now was to create a new type of flying magic tool. He didn't ask for too much. At the very least, this kind of magic tool had to be fast while conserving spiritual energy. Whether it was using the Spirit Gathering Pearl, spirit stones, or cultivators to drive it, conserving spiritual energy was very important. Wang Daoyuan had always had this idea, but unfortunately, he didn't have the time to do it. Now that his essence, energy, and spirit had been cultivated to the extreme, and his elixir, equipment, and talisman arrays had also reached the upper grade of the 5th level. Without a large number of materials to practice, it would be difficult to make further progress. There was really not much to do, and now was not a good time to leave. He just happened to have time to think about this matter. He had already planned the improvement route. When he refined the flying kite in the foundation establishment stage, it had already proved that the aerodynamics of his previous life was still applicable in the Qian Yuan realm. The core of the flying boat and the flying warship were mainly the floating array and the propulsion array. Needless to say, the propulsion array was to provide speed for the flying boat. The floating array provided the flying boat with the power to ascend. The heavier the things were, the more spiritual energy it would consume. The two cultivation worlds were so far apart. It was not easy to travel, so the more people and materials, the better. The space needed was naturally very large, and the weight was not small. However, 2 wings could be added to the flying boat to provide lift. In this way, part of the work of the floating array would be shared, and the consumption of spiritual energy would naturally be reduced. Air resistance also existed. The faster it flew, the greater the resistance. This could be done by improving the shape of the flying boat to reduce the air resistance. If it flew at the same speed, the resistance would be reduced. The propulsion needed to provide the propulsion array would also be reduced, and the spiritual energy consumed by the array would naturally be reduced. When improving the flying boat, the core did not need to be changed. Some improvements were mainly made to the outer shell. The reference objects were simple. The planes in his previous life and the demon birds in this life could be used. It was very difficult to imitate the planes in his previous life. He only knew the general appearance, and knew nothing about the details. It was easier to imitate demon birds. Among the industries of the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce, there were also spirit beasts and demon birds. Any type of demon bird could be easily found. Among the spirit beasts that Wang Daoyuan raised, there were the red-feathered crow, the golden feather that was only at the 2nd level, and an avatar, the gray roc. The red-feathered crow and the gray roc were known for their speed. The effect of imitating their appearance should be good. When modifying the appearance, the flying boat did not need to be of a high grade. Just casually refine a few 2nd-level flying boats and compare them with ordinary flying boats of the same level, the effect of the modification could be seen. Wang Daoyuan was too lazy to do this. He just left it to the avatar in the space of the spirit bead. The level of pill refinement, artifact, and talisman array could reach the 4th level. Even if he did not focus on array formation and artifact refinement, he could easily refine a 2nd-level flying boat. A few days later, the avatar refined 3 2nd-level upper-grade flying boats. One of them was a very ordinary flying boat, about 10 feet long. The other 2 flying boats were more strange in appearance. One looked like a crow, imitating the appearance of the red-feathered crow. The other looked like an eagle, imitating the gray roc. The length of the 2 flying boats was about 10 feet. When modifying the appearance, Wang Daoyuan did not intend to play any tricks. The wings of the 2 flying boats were fixed. The outer shell of the 2 modified flying boats was completely sealed, and there was a door on the side for entry and exit. The avatar had already tested the basic functions in the space of the spirit bead. Levitation and slow flight were not a problem. However, the space of the spirit bead was too small. The flying boat could not be used, so there was no way to test its speed. Wang Daoyuan left Jade Spring Peak with the flying boat and came to the vicinity of the heaven/mountain range. The industries near Jade Spring Peak were not developed by the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce, so there were no people here. He summoned his avatar, Chen Jiaoyi, and Liao Yang from the space of the spirit bead. The 3 of them each controlled a flying boat to verify the speed and spirit energy consumption. The 3 flying boats flew north for an hour. The unmodified flying boat was left more than 100 miles behind. This flying boat could fly about 2,000 miles in 2 hours. Now, it was left more than 100 miles behind in an hour. The speed of the 2 modified flying boats was more than 10% higher than the original version. There was no difference in speed between the 2 modified flying boats. The rock flying boat was slightly faster, but it was only a few miles ahead. The 3 flying boats gathered together. Wang Daoyuan checked the spirit gathering pearls on the 3 flying boats. These spirit gathering pearls were all high-grade 2nd level. The spirit-gathering pearls on the unmodified flying boat had consumed more than 70% of their spirit energy. The flying boat that looked like a red-feathered crow only consumed 50% of its spirit energy. The flying boat that looked like a gray rock consumed even less spirit energy. It only consumed about 40% of its spirit energy. This was normal. After all, rocks were fast and relied on themselves to fly. When the golden crow lineage used its extreme speed, it transformed into a sun and relied on its divine ability. In terms of appearance, rocks were more suitable for flying. This was only under the situation of flying 2,000 miles in 2 hours. In the future, when building high-grade flying boats, the faster they were, the greater the air resistance. A flying boat that looked like a rock would have an even greater advantage. The subsequent improvements were all based on this flying boat that looked like a rock. Wang Daoyuan put away the 3 flying boats and the 2 avatars and returned to Jade Spring Peak. In the space of the spirit bead, the avatars continued to improve the flying boat. On the original foundation, they made it fly faster and consume less spirit energy. Chapter 977. Before the appearance of the flying boat reached the best state, he would continue to refine a high-grade second-tier flying boat. When Wang Daoyuan was at the Foundation Establishment realm, he had planted many second-tier spiritual trees in the space of the spiritual pearl, especially the golden-threaded jade spirit peach. After obtaining the Yi-wood Qiankuan gourd, he transplanted those peach trees into the gourd. He also expanded some of them and could now be used to refine artifacts. The second-tier spiritual trees were extremely abundant. It was not a big deal to refine hundreds of such high-grade second-tier flying boats. A few days later, the clone refined another flying boat. This flying boat was based on the rock flying boat. This time, it was mainly to improve the angle of the 2 wings of the flying boat. The flying posture of the rock was not unchanged. Usually, when flying, it would always try its best to open its wings. When attacking, it would always half retract its wings. The first rock flying boat that was refined imitated the usual flying posture of the rock. Its wings were straight. The newly refined flying boat imitated the posture of the rock when it attacked. Its wings were half retracted. Once again, he took the flying boat out for testing. It also flew for an hour. The first rock flying boat flew for nearly 1,200 kilometers and consumed 40% of its spiritual power. The second rock flying boat flew for nearly 1,400 kilometers and consumed about 50% of its spiritual power. The second rock flying boat's speed increased by a lot, and its spiritual power consumption also increased by a lot. If Wang Daoyuan used this flying boat himself, the spiritual power of the spirit-gathering pearl was infinite. Naturally, it would only pursue speed. However, if he wanted to use it to transfer his clansmen in the future, he naturally had to consider the spiritual power consumption and try to find a balance between speed and spiritual power consumption. After more than a year of continuous exploration, he finally determined 2 types of rock-flying boats. One was a unilateral pursuit of speed. It flew for more than 1,600 kilometers in an hour, and its spiritual power consumption reached more than 60%. The other was a pursuit of balance. It flew for more than 1,300 kilometers in an hour, and its spiritual power consumption was 45%. The former was the type that Wang Daoyuan used for his own use and was named the Lei Peng flying boat. The latter was used to transfer and transport his clansmen in the future, as well as to connect the 2 cultivation worlds. It was named the Kuan Peng flying boat. The Lei Peng flying boat was for his own use and did not need to be too big. Even if he brought along Zhou Wan, it wouldn't take up much space. 100 feet was enough. In the future, the Kuan Peng flying ship would have to transport a large number of clansmen. Naturally, it would be better if it was bigger. It had to be at least 300 feet long. Expanding it from 100 zhang to 100 zhang was not a simple matter. some modifications were needed. Any kind of mature magic tool would have to go through countless modifications and improvements. Even though Wang Daoyuan had improved the flying boat, he had not improved the core. However, the speed of Lei Peng's flying boat was far superior to that of ordinary flying boats. His speed had increased by as much as 60%, so it was very likely that there would be problems. Although he didn't plan to refine this flying boat into a flying warship, he still needed a tool pattern to increase its strength. When the shape of the flying boat changed, the tool patterns had to change as well. He would come up with an improvement plan, and his clone would refine it in the space of the Spirit Pearl. After that, he carried out all sorts of destructive experiments, such as flying for tens of thousands of miles at full power. While flying at high speed, it had to stop and turn suddenly. Under such extreme conditions, the flaws of the flying boat were easily exposed. After making up for the many flaws, Wang Daoyuan began to refine the Tier 5 Lei Peng flying boat with ease. He didn't have many Tier 5 mid-grade refining materials, so he could only use them to refine the core of a Tier 5 high-grade flying boat. The outer shell was casual, and using Tier 5 low-grade refining materials was already very good. After working for 5 to 6 years, Wang Daoyuan refined a Tier 5 high-grade Lei Peng flying boat. There was no need to rush to refine the Kuan Peng flying boat for the time being. After all, there wasn't even a place to stay in the Sea of Seven Stars. This time, only Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Luan were going to the Sea of Seven Stars. He wouldn't bring the other clansmen. It wouldn't be too late to move the clansmen over after finding a place to stay. After refining the flying boat, Wang Daoyuan left the Jade Spring Peak and arrived near the Heaven/Mountain Range. He took out the flying boat and flew north along the Heaven/Mountain Range. The speed of this Lei Peng flying boat was about 40,000 kilometers in 2 hours. After killing Old Master Huang in the Sea of Seven Stars, the high-grade Tier 5 flying boat he obtained from him only flew 23,000 kilometers in 2 hours. Most soul formation cultivators' flying speed was only slightly more than 30,000 kilometers in 2 hours. With this Lei Peng flying boat, even if he was chased by a soul formation cultivator, it wouldn't be a big deal. The speed of the Lei Peng flying boat was more than 60% faster than ordinary flying boats of the same level. After flying for the same amount of time, the Lei Peng flying boat consumed slightly less spirit energy. If it was calculated based on the same distance, the Lei Peng flying boat's spirit energy consumption was less than half of that of an ordinary flying boat. After flying for 50,000 to 60,000 kilometers, the flying boat turned around and headed south. On the way, Wang Daoyuan even tried to change directions and stop abruptly. Fortunately, he had put in a lot of effort during the refining process, and the materials were also very good, so there weren't any problems. He flew south back to Qingli City and came to the imperial study in the palace. At this time, Wang Mingchen's cultivation had already reached the late stage of the Golden Core realm. From the looks of it, he could try to form his nascent soul in another 20 years. Wang Shui and Wang Daochang were also here. Wang Shui's cultivation had already reached the peak of the Golden Core realm, and he was only a little bit away from forming his nascent soul. Wang Daochang's cultivation was a little weaker, and he hadn't broken through to the late stage of the Golden Core realm yet. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "12th uncle, your cultivation has finally caught up, and you should be able to form your nascent soul soon. I have already prepared the nascent soul fruit, the 5-element spiritual objects, and the Tier 5 Dharma artifacts needed to form your nascent soul. As long as you comprehend them, you can form your nascent soul at any time." Wang Shui sighed. "I've only been a foundation establishment seedling in my family since I was young. I didn't expect to have a chance to form my nascent soul." Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "I don't have much use for these things. Selling them to outsiders is disadvantageous to our Yen kingdom. By the way, I came here this time to tell you something. I've already reached the limit of the Yuanying realm and my strength can't improve. Soon, I will leave Beiyuan and go to the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community to find an opportunity to break through to the soul formation realm. I plan to leave some backup plans in my family. Then, he took out a soul-chasing compass and gave it to Wang Mingchen. You should know this thing. Keep it well and it will ensure the safety of Qingli City. Jia Qi is my clone, and his strength is not inferior to that of a grand demon king. With him in Beiyuan, we don't have to worry about the demons coming to cause trouble. Then, he took out a beast skin book and an interspatial ring. This is the secret technique inheritance I got from the Sea of Seven Stars. It can be used to split part of your soul to control your clone. There are a few Tier 5 puppets in the interspatial ring. You can use this secret technique to control the puppets. If a few puppets attack together, a grand demon king will be nothing in your hands. 12th uncle, you should also cultivate this secret technique and control a Tier 5 superior grade sword puppet. After you break through to the Yuanying realm, with the help of the sword puppet, you will have the combat strength of a peak level Yuanying. With this secret technique and the puppet technique, the strength of our Wang family cultivators will increase a lot. Wang Mingchen took all these things. Father, don't worry. I know the importance of this secret technique. I will never leak it. Wang Daoyuan nodded. There's no hurry to go to the Sea of Seven Stars. This time, I will take your mother with me. How's the integration between the Wanchuan Merchant Group and the Blood Shadow branch? What's the reaction of the Blood Shadow headquarters? The countries near the sky/mountain range have reached an agreement with the Yen Kingdom and allowed the Wanchuan Merchant Group to enter. In these countries, the Blood Shadow branch has completely integrated with the Wanchuan Merchant Group. The Zheng state has also agreed to let the Wanchuan Merchant Group in. The integration will happen soon. The Wei state hasn't reached an agreement yet. Brother Mingshan is discussing it with them. Mother sent a letter saying that a few elders in the Blood Shadow branch expressed their dissatisfaction, but they are elders without any real power. The Zhang family and the Su family both support Mother. Among the non-lineal elders, more than half of them are under Mother's command. A few elders object, but they can't do anything. Chapter 978. The speed at which the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce took over the various branches of the Blood Shadow was very fast. The Chamber of Commerce had already entered the state of Zheng, and further west was the state of Zhou. Zhou Jingyuan was now the emperor of the state of Zhou. How could he go against his uncle, Wang Daoyuan? The Zhou family was also a disciple of the Valley of Beasts, and Wang Mingchen was the sect master of the Valley of Beasts. They did not dare to make things difficult for the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce. The state of Zhou had a vast territory and was in the center of all the countries. As long as the Chamber of Commerce could take over the branches of the Blood Shadow in the state of Zhou, it would be very easy for them to expand to other places. As for the state of Wei, it should be because the royal family was too weak and could not make many decisions on their own. Each sect had their own ideas. For example, the Zhenshan sect had a feud with the Wang family. However, the difference in strength was obvious, and they would give in sooner or later. This progress is very good. In another 20 to 30 years, the Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce should be able to enter all the countries, and there will be no need for me to manage. I plan to make a trip to the headquarters of the Blood Shadow to solve some future problems. In case your mother and I leave, those people at the headquarters will cause trouble. If you encounter a difficult enemy, just send a message to Jia Qi. I'll leave something for him. There should be no one in Beiyuan who can threaten him. Then, he left the palace and drove the Leipeng flying boat to the south. When he arrived at the Wanchuan market, he handed the Heavenly Sun mirror and a soul-chasing compass to Jia Qi. Now, there was no need for him to stay at the Wanchuan market, and he could patrol the territory of the state of Yen. Wang Daoyuan piloted the Thunder Rock flying ship and continued heading south. Now that he had switched to another ship, his speed was much faster. Without using all his strength, he could fly more than 30,000 miles in 2 hours. The only flaw was that the 4 sides were sealed, and he could not see the scenery. In only 2 days, the flying boat arrived at the headquarters of the Blood Shadow in the southern wilderness. He was already familiar with the place, and the disciples guarding the gate also knew him, so no one dared to stop him. After arriving at the headquarters, he went straight to the small courtyard of the Zhou family. Zhou Luan was not at home. She should be handling business in the meeting hall. Wang Daoyuan took out the token, opened the array, and walked in. Not long after, Zhou Luan returned from the assembly hall. When he walked into the small courtyard, he saw Wang Daoyuan drinking wine in the courtyard. He was pleasantly surprised. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Lord Shadow Master, did you encounter some good news?" Zhou Luan put on a straight face and snorted, "So it's the retired emperor of the Yan kingdom. What can I do for you?" Wang Daoyuan waved his hand, and a cool breeze blew past. Zhou Luan floated over. He hugged her and said with a smile, "Shadow Master, are you still angry with me? You haven't been sending any messages for the past 10 years. Have you forgotten about the old because you have a new lover? How would I dare? In order to find a way to convert spiritual energy into divine sense, I hid my cultivation base and went to Snow Dragon City in the Arctic ice field. After spending some time there, he killed a soul demon and captured another one alive. Then, he went to the Archaic Mysteries sect and asked the divine sense imprints of those ancient mighty figures to transform the inheritance of the soul demon into a secret technique that humans can cultivate. Now, my essence, energy, and spirit have reached the limit of a Yuanian cultivator and can't be improved anymore. So, I plan to go to the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community to find an opportunity to break through to the soul formation realm. In the next few years, I've been thinking of ways to improve the flying boat. The Qixing Sea Xiuxian community has much more resources than Beiyuan. If I can't take down the Sea of 7 Stars, the safety of Beiyuan Xiuxian can't be guaranteed in the future. So, I have to create a flying boat suitable for a large number of people to migrate. Now that I've made a breakthrough, I have time to come and accompany you." Zhou Luan's anger subsided, and there was some sadness on her face. "Are you leaving again?" Wang Daoyuan was touching her. "It's not that I'm leaving, it's that we're leaving. Before I left last time, I said that I would take you out. This time, I should fulfill my promise. It's too boring to drift on the sea for a few years. With Lord Shadow Master, there's always something to do, don't you think so?" Only then did she become happy. She hit Wang Daoyuan's naughty hand. "Behave yourself. At least you still have some conscience and didn't forget your promise. I'd better not go. There are a lot of things to do here at the Blood Shadow headquarters. If I leave, the Zhang and Su families will be disloyal again, and all our efforts over the years will be in vain. Lord Shadow Master, don't worry. I've already thought about it. I'll move some of the core members of the Zhang and Su families to the north of the Yan kingdom, so that the rest of them won't have enough prestige. My clone Jia Qi, ancestor myriad spirits, and many sword puppets are in the Yan kingdom. Not to mention an early nascent soul stage cultivator, even a peak nascent soul stage cultivator wouldn't be able to do much. The people left behind at the Blood Shadow headquarters don't have enough strength and prestige. Although First Elder Zhang Yu has a high status, his subordinates are weak. In this way, the 3 forces will be balanced, and no one will dare to go against the Yan kingdom. Then, I'll transfer Dao Jian to the headquarters and make him an elder with real power. No one will dare to act rashly. Plus, we won't be gone for too long. The last time I went to the Sea of 7 Stars, I wasted a few decades. The main reason was that I was too weak, and there were too many good things I wanted to find. This time, I only have 2 goals. One is to find the pure yin and pure yang spiritual items needed to break through to the soul formation realm. The other is to find a foothold for future expansion into the Sea of Seven Stars. After these two things are settled, we'll come back. The place where we can find the pure yin and pure yang spiritual items is called the Sunset Abyss. I have the map of the Sunset Abyss. There are many deserted islands at the periphery of the Sea of Seven Stars. It won't be difficult to find a suitable foothold. Plus the time it takes to go back and forth, it'll take at least 10 years. In such a short time, the blood shadow won't be able to do anything. Only then did Zhou Wan relax. It's good that you're prepared. I've lived for more than 500 years, but I've never seen the sea. This time, I have to take a good look at the scenery outside. My cultivation has already reached the peak of yuanying. Your cultivation hasn't caught up yet. We have to hurry up and help you improve your cultivation. In the next few months, Zhou Wan spent most of her time in the small courtyard. She rarely went to the meeting hall to deal with official business. She would only go there every few days to deal with some important matters. With Wang Daoyuan's help, her cultivation improved very quickly. However, there was still a gap between her and the late stage of yuanying. At this rate, she should be able to break through in another 3 to 5 years. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan had just woken up when there was a knock on the door. He scanned with his divine consciousness and found that it was Zhang Dingming and Su Qinghe who came to visit at the same time. Su Qinghe's cultivation had also broken through to the yuanying realm. It seemed that this guy had been hiding his strength before. Wang Daoyuan controlled the array and let them in. The two of them came to the courtyard and bowed to Wang Daoyuan. "Greetings, Your Majesty." Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "No need to be so polite. What are you two doing here?" Zhang Dingming, the old fox, just laughed. "Nothing important. We're just here to pay our respects to Your Majesty. Congratulations to Your Majesty for making great progress in your cultivation. I think it won't take long for you to break through to the semi-god realm." Su Qinghe also flattered, "Congratulations, Your Majesty. You can expect to reach the semi-god realm." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. "You don't have to be so polite. How's the migration of your two families going?" The Yan Kingdom's Monan County and Hanhai County have long been established. The Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce has also developed a lot of industries there and formed many small markets. The Grand Elder will be the governor of Hanhai County and the Second Elder will be the governor of Monan County. When do you plan to take up your posts? Hearing this, the two of them were delighted. Wang Daoyuan had agreed to let them move to the Yan Kingdom and even gave Zhang Dingming the position of governor. The Su family had joined the Yan Kingdom earlier and should also have a governor position. It was just that there had been no news in the past few years and the two of them were very nervous. After all, the two yuanying cultivators were the biggest obstacle for Wang Daoyuan to take over the blood shadow. The two of them were really worried that they would be secretly killed. Now that they had received a promise, they were reassured and the fear in their hearts disappeared. Su Qinghe quickly cupped his hands and said, "I've already made the preparations. About half of our family has already migrated. We can take up the posts at any time." Chapter 979. Zhang Dingming didn't want to be left behind and said, "I'll go whenever the retired emperor wants me to." It was great that the two of them were willing to cooperate. If the two yuanying cultivators left and took some people with them, the Zhang and Su families' influence in Blood Shadow would be greatly reduced. As the first elder, Zhang Yu could barely manage the situation. Su Qinghe had always been the second elder. Now that he was gone, the third elder, Chao Jing, should fill the vacancy and become the second elder. Chao Jing had long since joined the Wang family. There was a Chao family in Guiyan County, and the head of the family was Chao Jing's youngest son. He wasn't talented, and now that he was old, he didn't have much hope of breaking through. He didn't have any outstanding descendants, so he naturally didn't have much ambition. He was someone who could be put in an important position. When Wang Daojian came, he could directly become the third elder. In this way, after Zhou Wan left, the decision-making team could remain stable. Then you should go as soon as possible. The Yan Kingdom has already made preparations. However, after the second elder became the governor of South Desert County, things in Blood Shadow will be difficult to manage. The third elder, Chao Jing, will fill the vacancy and become the second elder. My younger brother, Wang Daojian, has expanded several branches since he took over the Shanbei branch. It's not appropriate for such a talent to stay in the branch. What do the two elders think? Su Qinghe quickly said, Hall Master Wang Daojian has made great contributions and should be transferred back to the headquarters. He can fill the vacancy of the third elder. Zhang Dingming also said, Hall Master Wang Daojian was personally taught by you. He has deep attainments in the Tao of sword cultivation. In terms of fighting ability, few below the Yuanying can match him. It's a waste of talent for him to be a hall master or an ordinary elder with real power. The position of third elder belongs to him. Wang Daoyuan nodded. In that case, when Zhou Wan has time to deal with official business, we'll take care of this matter. The two nodded and chatted for a while before leaving. After sending the two people away, Wang Daoyuan returned to the room. Zhou Wan was still lazily lying on the bed. Wang Daoyuan sat by the bed and said with a smile, I've sent the two of them away. Why don't we continue cultivating? Zhou Wan hit him lightly. Go to hell. I still have to deal with official business tomorrow. How can I meet people like this? You need to recover your strength today, so stop fooling around. Wang Daoyuan also stopped teasing her. He used the star-patterned sea cucumber to make some food for Zhou Wan to nourish her. Early the next morning, Zhou Wan left the small courtyard and went to the conference hall. After waiting for more elders to arrive, Su Qinghe stood up and cupped his hands. Reporting to Shadow Lord, this subordinate has already broken through to the Yuanying realm. From now on, this subordinate will focus on cultivation and will no longer be able to manage the headquarters affairs. I want to resign from my position as the second elder and focus on cultivation. Zhou Wan pretended to be surprised. The second elder has worked hard for Blood Shadow and has never made any mistakes. Your contributions are obvious to all. How can you resign so easily? Su Qinghe said again, this subordinate is focused on cultivation and has no time to manage worldly affairs. I hope Shadow Lord can fulfill my wish. Zhou Wan sighed. Forget it. We cultivators focus on cultivation. Since you don't want to manage worldly affairs anymore, I won't force you. However, you've worked hard for Blood Shadow for hundreds of years. If I allow you to resign, I'm afraid the elders will be disappointed. You should follow the example of the previous Great Elder and become the Grand Supreme Elder of Blood Shadow. From now on, you can focus on cultivation and won't have to manage worldly affairs. Su Qinghe bowed. Thank you, Shadow Lord. No need to be so polite. You deserve it. The second elder has been promoted to Grand Supreme Elder and the third elder, Chao Jing, has been promoted to second elder. Now that the position of third elder is vacant, who should be promoted to take over? Zhang Yu answered, in recent years, Blood Shadow has been safe and sound. There have been very few people who have made great contributions. In terms of outstanding contributions, the current Shanbei branch hall master, Wang Daojian, is at the top. When he took over the Shanbei branch, he was only in charge of a second-grade Qingli branch. Now that 60 years have passed, the Shanbei branch already has 5 second-grade Shanbei branches. They have even set up branches in the Arctic Ice Plains and Linhai Prefecture, 2 places that Blood Shadow has never set foot in. To Blood Shadow, this is a great contribution. If they don't reward him, they'll be disappointed. In my opinion, we should summon Wang Daojian to the headquarters and take over as third elder. All the elders knew about Wang Daojian's matter. The Shanbei branch's territory could rapidly expand completely because of the Yan Kingdom's envoy. However, as the Shanbei branch hall master, Wang Daojian could only be credited to him. If this layer of window paper was broken, wouldn't it mean that Blood Shadow was a subordinate force of the Yan Kingdom? In reality, this was indeed the case. However, they couldn't admit it. The Wang family entering Blood Shadow and replacing the Zhang and Su families as the new leaders was a secret that everyone in Blood Shadow knew. It was only a matter of time before someone from the Wang family became Blood Shadow's Grand Elder. Wang Daojian had also grown up in the Blood Shadow branch, so entering the headquarters was completely in line with the process. This was giving Blood Shadow enough face. There was no reason for him to stop them, nor was there any meaning to it. As soon as Su Qinghe said this, many of the elders spoke in agreement. Zhou Wan also agreed. Since that's the case, then summon Wang Daojian back to the headquarters to take on the role of third elder. The Shanbei branch hall master position will be temporarily taken over by the deputy hall master. When there are suitable people, it won't be too late to send him over. The Shanbei branch hall master was Wang Dekong. He was Wang Shoufeng's descendant and had been managing intelligence in the Blood Shadow Mountain branch. After establishing his Violet Palace, he was promoted to Deputy Hall Master of the Shanbei branch. Now, the Blood Shadow branch that had merged with the Wan Chuan merchant group, apart from managing businesses, only dealt with intelligence. Wang Daojian was the same. There were no requirements in terms of cultivation, so Zifu realm cultivators were completely qualified. The others also knew that the Wang family controlled the branch and no one was willing to be bullied. Naturally, they had no objections. Zhou Wan continued, since all the elders have no objections, let's go to the ancestral hall and confer Su Qinghe as the second Grand Elder of Blood Shadow. After that, the group went to the ancestral hall and went through the ceremony of conferring the title of Supreme Elder. Wang Daoyuan sent a letter to Wang Daojian, asking him to come to the Blood Shadow headquarters and take on the role of third elder. A few days later, Wang Daojian arrived at the Blood Shadow headquarters. Although he was the hall master of a branch hall and had a status comparable to an elder, he had never come to the headquarters before. Wang Daoyuan even sent a Wang family member to welcome him. Over the years, many Wang family members had come to the Blood Shadow headquarters. Although their cultivation wasn't high, they would be able to nurture a group of Golden Core elders in a few decades. Wang Daojian first came to the small courtyard of the Zhou family. As soon as he entered the courtyard, he bowed to Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan. Greetings, seventh brother and seventh sister-in-law. Wang Daoyuan took out a universe ring. We're brothers, so there's no need to be polite. Your seventh sister-in-law and I are preparing to travel the sea. There needs to be a Wang family member overseeing the Blood Shadow headquarters. You should have learned the doppelganger soul nurturing technique. There's a mid-grade tier 5 sword puppet inside. Refine it into a doppelganger. With this sword puppet, you don't have to be afraid of anyone who dares to cause trouble in the Blood Shadow headquarters. If you can deal with it normally, then deal with it normally. If you can't, then be ruthless. Wang Daojian took the universe ring and nodded solemnly. Seventh brother, don't worry. Although I'm not very strong, it won't be difficult for me to manage the Blood Shadow headquarters. I naturally believe in your abilities. Go and hand over the third elder's affairs to Chao Jing. A month later, Zhang Dingming and Su Qinghe left the Blood Shadow headquarters in the name of traveling. When they left, they didn't say anything. Only a few people knew about it. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan weren't in a hurry to leave the Blood Shadow headquarters. Instead, they continued to stay here. In the next year or so, Zhou Wan rarely went to deal with affairs. All the big and small affairs were dealt with by the three elders. After they were done, the Blood Shadow headquarters seemed to have returned to the state when there was no Shadow Master. Chapter 980. Over the past year, Wang Daojian's position had been consolidated. The main forces of the Zhang and Su families were in the Yan kingdom. There was an endless stream of flying boats between the headquarters and the north of the mountain. Currently, more than half of the two families had been moved there. The powerful elders of the two families also followed Wang Daojian's lead. Chao Jing did not have much ambition and did not have his own forces. Naturally, he listened to Wang Daojian. Although Zhang Yu had the support of many non-direct elders, he would not make an enemy of the Wang family. He would first ask for Wang Daojian's opinion on everything. As the third elder, Wang Daojian's actual power was greater than the previous first elder. He had established his prestige and had a mid-grade level 5 sword puppet in his hand. He was strong enough in both soft and hard ways. Moreover, Wang Daojian wasn't a greenhorn who was inexperienced. When he was young, the Wang family was only a foundation establishment family. Later, when Wang Daoyuan took down Fallen Dragon Ridge's Jade Pine Mountain, he was among the first group of people to guard it. At that time, there were many demon beasts in Fallen Dragon Ridge, but there were no experts to guard it. They could only rely on the protection of a large formation. In terms of experience in dealing with demon beasts, he was definitely not lacking. Later, when they were stationed in the Five Elements Mystic Realm and the Wang family began to infiltrate the Blood Shadow branch, he was among the first group of people to enter. At that time, the Wang family was still very weak and could not afford to offend the Blood Shadow. He had truly grown up by completing assassination missions. In terms of rich experience, he was second only to Wang Daoyuan in the Wang family. The elders of the Blood Shadow headquarters were not strong enough. There was no hope at all for them to take him down. Wang Daojian had gained a foothold in the Blood Shadow headquarters. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan could also leave in peace. When Zhou Wan left, she did not deliberately hide it. She used the excuse of going to the Yan kingdom to see her child and left openly. Most of the past shadow masters of the Blood Shadow did not manage much. It was normal for Yuanian cultivators to go into seclusion and not come out for dozens of years. The headquarters was managed by the three elders and a group of powerful elders, so there would not be any trouble. The two of them left the Blood Shadow headquarters and returned to the Yan kingdom under the escort of the elders. After sitting on Lei Peng's flying boat, the speed surprised Zhou Wan. "The flying boat you've improved is too fast." "That's right. I've spent so much effort. If I don't have some skill, wouldn't it be too embarrassing? It's a pity that this cabin is sealed, and I can only use my divine sense to observe the surrounding scenery. I was thinking of taking a good look at the seascape after going out to sea. This is the first Lei Peng flying ship that I've refined. It's not perfect yet. I was planning to improve it by using transparent materials to build a few viewing platforms on the outer shell." "Then why didn't you make any improvements after staying in Blood Shadow's headquarters for so long?" Wang Daoyuan hugged Zhou Wan from behind. "With the Shadow Master by my side, how could I have the mind to do anything else? How about?" Zhou Wan hit him on the hand. "I'm still waiting to go back and see the three children. Be serious." 2 days later, the two of them arrived at Yan country's Qingli city. They had already sent a message beforehand, so the three children were already waiting in the air outside the city. When the two flying boats met, Zhou Wan impatiently came out of Lei Peng's flying boat and landed on Wang Mingchen's auspicious cloud. Wang Mingchen and Wang Mingren bowed. Children pay respects to mother. Wang Mingxian was very casual and directly threw herself into Zhou Wan's arms. "Mother, I haven't seen you for a long time. I always wanted to run to see you, but Big Brother said it was too dangerous outside and didn't let me go out. Zhou Wan gently patted Wang Mingxian's back. You're already a big girl, yet you're still acting spoiled in front of mother. Your cultivation is not bad, you've already reached the peak of foundation establishment. Cultivate well. Mother is still waiting to see you open up your zifu. Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian were already over 30 years old, and their cultivation had already reached the peak of foundation establishment. From the looks of it, they should be able to open up their zifu earlier than Wang Delin. Wang Mingxian's personality was very similar to Zhou Wan's. When she heard Zhou Wan mention her cultivation, she had a proud look on her face. I could have opened up my zifu long ago, but Grandpa Myriad Spirits wanted me to accumulate more. He said that only by accumulating more can my future path be smoother. The family landed in the backyard of Qingli City's imperial palace, which was also a harem. However, Wang Mingchen had never married, and Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan didn't live in the palace. Usually, only a few maids were here to clean up. However, Wang Mingxian often ran to the harem. There were many exotic flowers and fruits here, which were very attractive to her. After arriving at the harem, Wang Mingchen pointed to a tall palace and said, "Father, Mother, this is Changle Palace, the residence prepared for you." The family walked into Changle Palace, and Ancestor Myriad Spirits also flew out of the pagoda. He glanced at Zhou Wan and said with a smile, "You are indeed a descendant of Tianpeng. Your phoenix bloodline is very similar to his." Zhou Wan hurriedly bowed. Zhou Wan of the Zhou family greets Ancestor Myriad Spirits. Thank you for taking care of our 3 children. There's no need to be so polite. The Valley of Beasts has withered. The Zhou family can be considered part of the Valley of Beasts, so I wanted to come out and take a look. These 3 children are all extremely talented, and they have the Zhou family's bloodline. Taking care of them can be considered as doing my part to continue the Valley of Beasts. Wang Mingxian asked, "Grandpa Myriad Spirits, now that my parents are back, Brother Mingren and I can open up our zifu, right? Over the past few years, you have been preventing me from breaking through. Brother Mingren's cultivation has already caught up to mine." Ancestor Myriad Spirits sighed. Young people are impatient. Since your parents are here, you can do as you please. Hearing that Ancestor Myriad Spirits had no objections, Wang Mingxian threw herself into Zhou Wan's arms and acted coquettishly. "Mother, I heard from Grandpa Myriad Spirits that after I opened up my zifu, I could freely control spiritual plants to fight my enemies. My strength is not inferior to a sword cultivator's." Zhou Wan patted her head. "Forget it. A difference of a few years won't make much of a difference. Your father's foundation was not very good when he was young. Later on, he obtained sufficient spiritual items and was able to cultivate to perfection. The 2 of you are extremely talented and did not lack resources since you were young. Your accumulations should not be too bad. Open up your zifu." Wang Mingxian was overjoyed. "Thank you, Mother." Wang Mingchen took out 2 purple cloudwood cores. "I won't join in the fun when my siblings open up their zifu. I still have a lot of work to do in the imperial study. Although you are much more talented than me and have no use for these 2 purple cloudwood cores, it's better to be prepared." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. "Go. The country's affairs are more important." Wang Mingchen left the harem. Wang Mingxian and Wang Mingren each took a piece of yin-yang purple jade. Wang Mingxian looked at Wang Mingren defiantly. "I can't beat you. Wait until I open up my zifu and can control spiritual plants. Let's see how I'll get my revenge." Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan looked at each other and smiled. They shook their heads. These 2 children had never suffered before. They were in their 30s and still had the temper of a child. The 2 of them each found a large hall and prepared to open up their zifu. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan temporarily sat in Changle Palace. Soon, the rooms on both sides of Changle Palace's main hall emitted a dazzling purple light. The siblings had never lacked spiritual items since they were young. They ate all kinds of spiritual fruits like rice. Naturally, their foundations were very solid. After a while, 2 purple balls floated above Chang'e Palace. Wang Mingxian's embryonic Zifu was slightly larger, with a diameter of 8.7 inches. Wang Mingren's was slightly smaller, with a diameter of 8.5 inches. This talent was probably second only to Wang Daoyuan. Wang Mingxian's Zifu opening speed was slightly faster. Soon, a large ball of pure spiritual energy appeared out of thin air. The ball of spiritual energy absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy and turned into a large green tree. This tree was still absorbing spiritual energy. The tree grew bigger and bigger, and its crown soon surpassed the Imperial Apex Hall. The Imperial Apex Hall was the tallest building in the entire clear glass city. The decorations at the top of the hall were more than 150 feet tall. However, the tree's growth speed didn't slow down. A spiritual energy vortex formed around it. After a few minutes, the tree became a huge monster and enveloped the entire clear glass city. Chapter 981. There were many spirit plants planted in Qingli City. Under the cover of the tree, they were full of vitality. In particular, the spirit plants in Chang'e Palace had begun to grow rapidly. Patriarch Myriad Spirit flew in from outside. His face was filled with joy, sadness, nostalgia, and other complex emotions. After more than 100,000 years, I didn't expect to see Azurewood again. Wang Daoyuan asked, Patriarch Myriad Spirit, you said that Azurewood's purple mansion phenomenon was a green sapling. Do you have some misunderstanding about saplings? Such a big sapling is really rare. Patriarch Myriad Spirit looked at the towering tree and smiled. The purple mansion phenomenon will slowly change. You don't have to worry too much. It's just that Mingxian's talent is too powerful. The movement of opening her purple mansion is much greater than Azurewood's. If Azurewood didn't die in battle, he would have cultivated to the Earth Immortal realm. Clearly, her talent is above his and she has a ready-made cultivation technique. Unlike Azurewood, who spent a lot of time deducing cultivation techniques, it shouldn't be difficult for her to reach the Earth Immortal realm. Before he finished speaking, the spiritual energy vortex around the green tree became stronger and stronger. Not only did the green tree stop growing, it became smaller and smaller. After a few minutes, the tree shrank to about 5 inches tall. Then, it gradually turned into a sapling pattern that was engraved on Wang Mingxian's purple mansion. On the other hand, the green bamboo in Chang'e Palace grew more than 3 feet tall. Cracks even appeared on the ground of the bamboo garden. Dozens of bamboo shoots broke through the soil and grew more than a foot tall. At that moment, a tiger's roar sounded. Beside Wang Mingren's purple mansion, a white tiger divine beast appeared. The white tiger divine beast's might was extremely powerful. The Sika deer and other spirit beasts in the harem were all trembling in fear. The white tiger raised its head and let out a tiger's roar. Many spirit beasts collapsed to the ground in fright. Some useless fellows actually fainted right away, leaving behind a pile of 5 grains reincarnation items beside them. The maidservants who cleaned the harem were also trembling in fear, not daring to come over. Although the white tiger's aura was powerful, it wasn't as powerful as Azurewood's. Its range of influence was limited to the palace. After a few minutes, the white tiger's body emitted a dazzling silver light. The silver light gradually dissipated, and the white tiger disappeared. What appeared before his eyes was a silver longsword with a white tiger carving on its hilt. The white tiger's divine beast aura was still the same as before, but it now had a hint of killing intent. Patriarch Myriad Spirits nodded in satisfaction. The Wang family will prosper. Brightblade's Violet Palace phenomenon is identical to Divine Lord Slaughter's. God Monarch Slaughter was also a peerless genius. He had cultivated to the late stage of the Mahayana realm before the age of 5,000. At that time, the essence, energy, and spirit in his body that had turned into immortal power was already very close to half. He was only a hair's breadth away from becoming a mighty figure. Moreover, he was also a top-notch sword cultivator. Only a few sword immortals could defeat him. Unfortunately, he fell in a great battle and was unable to advance any further. However, his life-killing sword art was definitely not inferior to an almighty's inheritance. Ming Ren's talent is slightly better than his. His future achievements will only be greater. The silver longsword slowly shrank and eventually turned into sword runes that were engraved on Wang Mingren's purple palace. The two of them had never encountered any danger, and their lives had been very smooth since they were young. Naturally, they didn't have any inner demons. After meditating in front of the purple palace for a moment, the soul easily walked in. Soon, the two purple palaces descended. Above the two side halls, spirit chi vortexes began to appear. 6 hours later, Wang Mingxian and Wang Mingren ran out of the hall one after the other. The moment Wang Mingxian came out, she ran to the place where the spirit plants grew in Changle Palace. She condensed a ball of jade-green spirit energy in her hand. With a light wave of her hand, the jade-green spirit energy spread out. The green bamboo in the bamboo garden was stained with the jade-green spirit energy. The hundreds of bamboos seemed to come alive. The bamboo tips bent towards Wang Mingxian as if they were worshipping her. Wang Daoyuan scanned the bamboos with his divine perception and found that there seemed to be a spirituality similar to a soul in them. This spirituality was very weak, far inferior to that of an ordinary flying insect. Patriarch Myriad Spirits stroked his long beard with a smile on his face, looking gratified. Wang Daoyuan asked, "What's going on with these bamboos?" "It's extremely difficult for spirit plants to gain sentience. How did Mingxian casually sprinkle a bit of spirit energy and let them take the first step? At this rate, in a few hundred years, they will become bamboo demons or bamboo spirits. What do you think the second wood spiritual body's spirituality means? If there weren't any benefits, why would the spirit plants be controlled by Mingxian? Back then, divine venerable Greenwood was the same. The second wood spiritual body caused his spirit energy to have a trace of special energy. As long as the plants are stained with this energy, they will give birth to an extremely weak spiritual consciousness. Don't be fooled by the weak spiritual consciousness. It's extremely difficult for plants to gain spiritual consciousness. Especially the step of starting from nothing, it's extremely difficult to take. Even those divine trees that have lived for hundreds of thousands of years can't take this step. As long as it completes the process of starting from nothing, its spiritual consciousness will slowly increase in the future and it will eventually become a plant spirit. This is the same principle as raising spirit beasts. However, the plant spirits that are enlightened by the second wood spiritual body are more loyal than demonic beasts. If you have any powerful spirit plants, it's best to prepare some for her. Normally, I just nurture these spirits of nature, which is much more powerful than the spirit plants that I temporarily create. Wang Daoyuan nodded. That's not a problem. Although I don't have any high-level spirit plants suitable for combat, the Myriad Rivers Chamber of Commerce has collected a lot over the years. Everything else aside, it's not a problem to find a few 3rd and 4th grade spirit plants suitable for combat. It's just that this special spirit energy won't cause any damage to Mingxian's body. I'm worried that she will consume too much and it will affect her future path. Patriarch Myriad Spirits chuckled. Don't worry. Spiritual bodies are derived from laws. Enlightening spirit plants is a special ability that comes with the second wood spiritual body. This ability was innate, just like how spirit bodies increased the speed of cultivation. As long as the Qian Yuan realm still has the power of laws, the spiritual body's power will not be exhausted. Back then, Divine Venerable Greenwood was obsessed with spirit plant farmers. In more than 10,000 years, he enlightened more spirit plants than you have ever seen, and he didn't see any problems. If he doesn't die in battle, it won't be difficult for him to step further into the immortal Tao. Mingxian's talent is above Divine Venerable Greenwood's, so there's no need to worry. Wang Mingxian saw Wang Mingren walk out and shouted, "Second brother, I couldn't beat you before. Let's compete again." Wang Mingren had always been belligerent. Now that he had a chance, he naturally wouldn't let it go. He took out his second-grade superior-grade longsword and said with a smile, "Sister, be careful." With that, he waved his longsword, and a cold killing intent gushed out. Wang Daoyuan was taken aback. This is sword intent? She can comprehend sword intent just after opening her purple mansion? Patriarch Myriad Spirits laughed. What do you think? If she doesn't even have this ability, wouldn't a sword body be the same as an ordinary battle body? This is just the beginning. A sword body is a natural sword cultivator. In the future, her progress on the path of sword cultivation will be more and more terrifying. On the other side, Wang Mingxian was not to be outdone. She once again released a ball of green spirit energy and sprinkled it on the bamboo. After receiving the benefits, the bamboo worked extremely hard. The bamboo pole shook lightly, and bamboo leaves fell from the bamboo branches. The bamboo leaves didn't fall to the ground. Instead, they shot toward Wang Mingren's sword qi. The bamboo leaves were still too weak and couldn't withstand a single blow from the sword qi. When a bamboo leaf touched the sword qi, it was instantly split in half and fell to the ground powerlessly. The sword qi's power didn't decrease, but it dimmed slightly. There were more than 1,000 bamboo leaves shooting out from the bamboo forest. After the first sword qi cut down 100 bamboo leaves, it quietly dissipated. Wang Mingren waved his sword again and again, and sword qi filled with killing intent slashed out. Wang Mingxian also shot out more bamboo leaves to fend off the sword radiance. The brother and sister fought for more than 10 rounds, and they were evenly matched. Their strength was something that even Midsifu realm cultivators would find difficult to resist. Wang Daoyuan was very proud that his children were so promising. Mingren, Mingxian, stop fighting. If you continue, the entire Changle Palace will be barren. Chapter 982. Hearing Wang Daoyuan's words, Wang Mingren and Wang Mingxian stopped. The entire Changle Palace was filled with broken bamboo leaves. Half of the originally lush and verdant bamboo forest was now bare. Wang Daoyuan smiled. You're evenly matched, so it's a draw. Wang Mingxian looked at the bamboo forest and shook her head. Second brother still won. The bamboo leaves in the forest won't last long, but second brother still has a lot of spiritual energy left. These bamboos can only shoot bamboo leaves to attack. If we continue to fight, the bamboo leaves will be exhausted, and I'll be defeated. Seeing her disappointed, Zhou Wan walked out of the main hall of Changle Palace and came to Wang Mingxian's side. She hugged her and comforted her. Don't worry. Patriarch Myriad Spirits said that the spiritual plants you've nurtured for a long time are much stronger. Go ask your brother for some spiritual plants suitable for battle. After nurturing them for a while, Mingren won't be a match for you. Wang Mingren was still using a grade 2 longsword. If he changed to a grade 3 lifebound magic artifact, his strength would take a huge leap. However, he was already mature and didn't compete with his sister. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Now that you've both opened up your Violet Palace, you'll have to listen to Patriarch Myriad Spirits for your next cultivation step. The two bowed and followed Patriarch Myriad Spirits back to the Imperial study. The two children had outstanding talent. Zhou Wan reverted to her old ways with a proud expression. My children have great talent, unlike you who opened up your Violet Palace at over 100 years old. Wang Daoyuan immediately retorted, "You didn't give birth to them yourself. Isn't it thanks to me?" Zhou Wan glanced at him, but couldn't find any excuse to refute. She could only snort and return to the main hall of Changle Palace. Wang Daoyuan followed her in. "Shadow Lord, I plan to return to Jade Spring Peak and refine another Lei Peng flying boat. Are you coming back with me, or are you staying here to accompany the children?" "Of course I'm accompanying the children. I haven't seen them for many years, so I have to spend more time with them. Why would I go back with you when you're so detestable?" When Zhou Wan was proud, she always liked to insult him. Wang Daoyuan had long been used to it. "Then I'll head back first. Whenever you miss me, you can come to Jade Spring Peak to look for me." "Who would miss you? Get lost." Wang Daoyuan left Clear Glass City and returned to the underground cave of Jade Spring Peak, preparing to refine the second Lei Peng flying boat. The outer shell of the flying boat and even the device that converted spiritual energy into the power of law didn't require him to do it himself. He only needed to refine the core part. With his current divine sense cultivation, refining a set of flying boat cores was not difficult at all. After half a year, the core of the flying boat was completely refined. On the outer shell of the flying boat, not only was an observation deck added, but some other things were also improved. It took him a few days to assemble the entire flying ship. He was about to go to Qingli City to explain some things to Wang Mingchen before leaving Beiyuan Xiuxian. To go out to sea. The formation of the underground cave was opened, and Zhou Wan walked in. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Shadow Lord, did you miss me?" "Shameless. Who misses you? Ming Ren and Ming Xian have cultivated for a long time and want to go out to experience, so Dahei followed them out. Mingchen has to cultivate in addition to dealing with official business every day. I was bored staying there, so I came back here to take a look. After all, we've lived here for more than 100 years. This is our home. Has your flying boat been refined?" The new Lei Peng flying boat has been refined. In addition to the observation deck, some simple modifications have been made. When Ming Ren and Ming Xian opened their purple mansion, it was too noisy. "I'm afraid it will be targeted. If ordinary people make a move, Dahei can handle it. But if the Soul Demon clan makes a move, it will be troublesome. Anyway, Jia Qi has nothing to do now, so let him secretly protect Ming Ren and Ming Xian." With a thought, Jia Qi came to the underground cave in a short time. Wang Daoyuan gave him the 5th-level high-grade Lei Peng flying boat. If he could bring the cultivated spiritual plants with him, it would be much more convenient to use them. Although this flying boat didn't have an observation deck, it was fast enough. Jia Qi was left in Beiyuan by Wang Daoyuan to deal with the Soul Demon. Since there was a problem in the Yen Kingdom, he naturally had to take action. With the Lei Peng flying boat, it was more convenient to support everywhere. He also gave him a 3rd-level high-grade Yi Wood Qiankuan gourd and asked him to give it to Wang Mingxian. In order to exert the greatest power of the Yi Wood spiritual body, spiritual plants must be cultivated in advance. With this gourd, it was more convenient to cultivate spiritual plants. "I've already made the preparations. As long as I give the nascent soul fruit and the auxiliary materials for nascent soul to Mingchen, everything will be fine. Do you have anything else to tell me? If not, let's set off now. To avoid trouble, we'll leave quietly this time. We'll go deep into the Mirage Fog Sea from the Purple Gold River Valley. In that case, the demons won't be able to find us. When we're far away from the sky/mountain range, there won't be any 5th-level demons. I've added an invisibility array on the Lei Peng flying boat. Demons below 5th level won't be able to find us." Zhou Wan was still a little reluctant. "We're leaving so suddenly. I really can't bear to leave the children. The children have grown up. They have to go out and explore." Ancestor Myriad Spirits is watching over Mingchen. Mingren and Mingxian are being watched by Jia Qi. They won't be in any danger. Besides, it won't take us long this time. You stay here and see if there's anything you need to bring. I'll go tell Mingchen some things. He came to the Imperial Study in Qingli City and entered a secret room with Wang Mingchen. He took out a universe ring. There are 5 nascent soul fruit and a piece of 5 elements essence in here. It's enough for 4 or 5 people to form their nascent souls. In addition, there are some 5th-level defensive Dharma artifacts that I casually refined. With these things, it won't be a problem for you and 12th uncle to form your nascent souls. Wang Mingchen took down the universe ring and took out another universe ring. Father, you told me to find meteorites, star cores, spatial materials, and materials like crystals to refine the universe gourd. Over the years, the Chamber of Commerce has been searching in secret. We found a lot of meteorites and crystals. However, we didn't find many spatial materials and star cores. We only found 5 star cores and 5 kilograms of spatial materials. All the star cores and spatial materials are here. We found too many meteorites and crystals. We only put about 1/5 of them in the ring. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Star cores are hard to come by. These are enough. I've told you what I need to tell you. Your mother and I will leave Beiyuan and go to the Sea of 7 Stars. I've left a lot of backup plans. The Yen Kingdom and Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce can continue to do what they need to do. We'll leave secretly this time. We'll announce to the public that your mother and I are cultivating in seclusion. Then, he left Qingli City and returned to Jade Spring Peak. On the way, he put the universe ring given by Wang Mingchen into the space of the spiritual pearl and gave it to his doppelganger to check. The spatial material inside was the space stone. It was pitch black and extremely hard. From time to time, it would flash with spatial fluctuations. The space stone was one of the most common spatial materials. A few kilograms of space stone could be added to refine spatial magic tools like the universe ring. The 5 kilograms of space stone was enough to make dozens of universe rings. Star cores were rare. There were only 3 in total in the space of the spiritual pearl. 2 were given by Immortal Lei Yen. The other one was snatched from the Sea of 7 Stars. Now, it had reached the upper grade of the 5th rank. The 5 star cores obtained by Wanchuan Chamber of Commerce were all of the upper grade of the 4th rank. The doppelganger took them out of the universe ring. The star cores floated up automatically and stopped at the place with the densest purple gas. Then, they started to absorb the purple gas crazily. As time went by, the star power in the star cores became stronger and stronger. It wouldn't be long before they could emit starlight. By then, there would be more places to grow star fruits and star-patterned sea cucumbers in the space. Chapter 983. Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Spring Peak and went to the underground cave abode. Zhou Wan was rummaging through the boxes and cabinets, and some things were piled up on the bed. Lord Shadow Master, are you going to move? Why are you making such a big fuss? Looking at these old things, I want to take away all of them. The interspatial ring I carry with me is too small. Give me 2 interspatial rings and I'll pack more clothes. Wang Daoyuan had no choice but to take out 2 larger storage rings and give them to her. Back then, it took a lot of effort to move from the North Mountain Branch to the Jade Spring Peak. He packed a lot of clothes, but she didn't wear many of them. Why are you bringing so many clothes? The clothes of cultivators won't get dirty. Just bring a few. What do you know? This trip may take more than 10 years. 1 change a day will take thousands of clothes. Wang Daoyuan had nothing to say. The clothes of cultivators were all magic artifacts. They were not stained with dust and were not easy to damage. If she didn't experience fierce battles, it was not a problem for her to not change clothes for decades or even centuries. She had to change clothes a day and pick out thousands of clothes. When she changed, she had to ask herself which one was the most beautiful. After a long time, Xiaofan finally said, "I've brought everything I want. Let's go." Wang Daoyuan breathed a sigh of relief. "Let's hide first and go near the Serene Mountain." The underground cave there leads to the Zijin River Valley. The two put on the black magic robe and used a concealment technique. They left the Jade Spring Peak and headed northeast. This time, they left secretly, so they didn't bring any spirit beasts. There was only one Yun-Yi in the space of the Spirit Pearl. Since the last time they captured the spirit demon, they put him into the space of the Spirit Pearl and never let him out again. This guy caused destruction everywhere when he went out. It was better to keep him by his side. At the critical moment, he could be of some use. Everything had its weakness. Yun-Yi was now being forced to cultivate by the Xian all day, and he didn't dare to resist. Now that his cultivation had reached the upper grade of the 4th level, he could break through to the 5th level at any time. However, it was very difficult to advance further due to the restrictions of his bloodline. He could only rely on time within the space of the Spirit Pearl to make up for his lack of bloodline. When his soul-devouring Nether Tiger bloodline was sufficient, he would not have to worry about bottlenecks anymore. The two of them quickly flew to the vicinity of South Serene Mountain. The Wang family had developed this area for decades, and it was now prosperous. A large city with a radius of more than 10 miles had been built on the South Serene Mountain. There were more than 100,000 members of the Wang clan in the vicinity, and many itinerant cultivators had settled down here. The Yen Kingdom had already established the Serene South County, which governed the sky-beheading mountain range north of the Huiyan Mountain. The county was governed by the Serene South City. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou didn't approach Serene South City. Instead, they entered the underground cave 100 li south of the city. Half a day later, the two of them passed through the karst cave and arrived at the Zijin River Valley. Now that the Heavenly/Mountain Range's spirit vein had recovered to Tier 5, even the clouds and mist in this place had become denser. However, Wang Daoyuan's divine sense had also made great progress. He could still explore the situation 100 miles away. Is this the Zijin River Valley? I've never seen such a thick fog before. Moreover, there's a special power of law in this fog. If you absorb a little bit, it will cause interference to your own power of law. The fog here is from the Mirage Fog Sea. It's a method set up by the Valley of Beasts in the past. If you cultivate in this fog without special means, it's very easy to suffer from qi deviation. You'd better not absorb the spiritual energy. It won't be too late to cultivate after we fly out of the Mirage Fog Sea. Wang Daoyuan took out Lei Peng's flying boat. The two of them entered the flying boat, and the entire flying boat flew towards the east at an extremely fast speed. In the control room at the head of the flying boat were Chen Zhaoyi and Liao Yang's two clones. With them, Wang Daoyuan didn't need to spend time controlling the flying boat. Lei Peng's flying boat quickly flew out of the Zijin River Valley and entered the Mirage Fog Sea. They didn't keep flying east, but northeast. Wang Daoyuan had the entrance token of the Valley of Beasts. He could sense the location of the Myriad Beast Island and use it to determine the direction. After flying for more than half a day, Lei Peng's flying boat finally left the Mirage Fog Sea. This place was located at the edge of the extreme cold ice field. To the north was the boundless ice field, and to the south was the magnificent sea. On the surface of the sea directly below, there were countless pieces of floating ice and large icebergs. At this time, the flying boat had already activated the invisibility array. Even a rank 5 demon couldn't discover Lei Peng's flying boat without special detection methods. Zhou had already used her divine sense to explore the scene outside. Daoyuan, where's your observation deck? I haven't seen the sea with my own eyes. Quickly open the observation deck. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. At the belly of Lei Peng's flying boat, a row of 3 feet wide boards automatically retracted, revealing the transparent material under the boards. A circle of transparent windows appeared on Lei Peng's belly. Inside the window, there was a corridor. Zhou Wan was as happy as a child. She ran around the corridor and enjoyed the beautiful scenery around. Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "Not only is there an observation deck inside the flying boat, but you can also open a skylight above to see the scenery outside." When Zhou Wan heard that there was a better place to see the scenery, she quickly said, "Quickly open the skylight. Let's go outside and have a look." Wang Daoyuan also took Zhou Wan to the upper cabin. Soon, they came to the uppermost cabin of Lei Peng's flying boat. This cabin was only 2 feet square. The furnishings in the room were very simple. There was a table and 2 reclining chairs. The boards above the cabin shrank to both sides, revealing a hole slightly larger than the cabin. The cabin began to rise, and the cabin floor just happened to fill the hole. The table and reclining chairs in the cabin appeared on Lei Peng's back. The periphery was protected by a formation, so it would not be affected by the fierce wind. Wang Daoyuan took out some spirit fruits from the space in the spiritual pearl and placed them on the table. He then lay down on one of the reclining chairs. "Shadow Lord, are you satisfied with this place to see the scenery?" Zhou Wan lay on the other reclining chair. She pinched a few grapes and put them in her mouth. She ate while looking at the surrounding sea. "Not bad. It's more interesting to see the scenery here. Your refining skills are finally useful." The 2 of them ate and drank while looking at the scenery. They stayed on Lei Peng's back for more than a day. "I haven't seen the sea for hundreds of years. I've finally seen enough. I don't know how many dangers there are ahead. I want to improve my cultivation as soon as possible. I hope I can help you. I'm going to start cultivating. Is there a cultivation room on the boat?" Wang Daoyuan smiled evilly. "Of course there is. I specially arranged the cultivation room. Follow me." The 2 of them came to a very spacious cabin. The furnishings here were exactly the same as the rooms in Bloodshadow's headquarters. There was also a very luxurious bed in the cabin. The bed was fiery red. The spirit energy fluctuations showed that it was a low-grade level 5 magic artifact. "This is a bedroom, not a cultivation room. I'm cultivating with you. Doesn't that mean we have to be in a bedroom? I haven't had the time to improve the Cloudy Rain Sutra. We still need to spend more time studying it. There might be many dangers ahead. You still want to waste your energy? My cultivation method has been improved. As long as I circulate it slightly, it will produce large amounts of blood essence and spiritual sense. However, my essence, chi, and spirit are complete. I can't use them to strengthen my body and soul. My body can't contain that much either. It's a pity to waste them. It's better to help you cultivate." Wang Daoyuan only needed to take out the spirit-gathering pearl from the space in the spiritual pearl every few days. He would then put the pearl that had used up all its spirit energy back into the spiritual pearl. He would use the rest of his time to cultivate with Zhou Wan. The 2 clones were very busy. Not only did they have to control the flying boat, but they also had to observe the situation around them. When they encountered islands and volcanoes, they had to stop and observe carefully. In the future, if they wanted to connect the 2 cultivation worlds, there would be many transfer stations along the way. There would also be people guarding them. It would be best if there were many people living in the transfer stations. He couldn't let these people live in the sea or on the unstable sea ice. The islands they encountered along the way were all potential transfer stations. Chapter 984. It would take a long time to set up a transfer station between the two cultivation worlds. The first thing to be set up was a communication array. If the two cultivation worlds didn't have a stable method of communication, the foundation built on the Sea of Seven Stars in the future would be like rootless duckweed. Blood Shadow's communication array could only send messages over a distance of 50,000 kilometers at most. The communication array on the Sea of Seven Stars was about the same. The inheritance in the Valley of Beasts was much more advanced. The two communication arrays could be as far apart as 150,000 kilometers. Of course, if the distance was too far, the requirements for array materials would be too high, and the consumption of spirit power would be too great. If the distance was too close, there would be too many array formations to set up from Beiyuan to the Sea of Seven Stars. It would be best to maintain a distance of 200,000 kilometers between the two communication arrays. The communication arrays also had to be built on islands with spirit veins. Although there were many islands on the sea, it was still quite difficult to ensure that there were spirit veins and that the distance was suitable. They might even have to set up some man-made islands in places with spirit veins. After leaving the Mirage Fog Sea for more than a month, there were no more traces of fifth-stage spirit chi. After all, the spirit chi in the heavenly/mountain range had just recovered, and the spirit chi in Beiyuan Xiaofan had not completely covered it. In a short time, the spirit chi in the heavenly/mountain range couldn't spread over here. Without the fifth-stage spirit chi, there would naturally be no fifth-stage demonic beasts here. Lei Peng's flying boat also reduced the consumption of spirit power of the invisibility array formation to ensure that it could hide from fourth-stage demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan was currently studying array formations in his room. If he wanted to set up a communication array in the future, he would need to improve the original array formation according to local conditions. He would try to increase the communication distance as much as possible and reduce the requirements for materials. He didn't need to care about the consumption of spirit power. The communication array formation was built on a place with spirit veins. As long as the spirit veins were stable, the array formation wouldn't have too many problems. Soon, Zhou Wan woke up. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Lord Shadow Master, you haven't gotten out of bed for more than a month. You brought so many clothes, but you didn't use any of them." Zhou Wan glared at him and said weakly, "Isn't it because of you? I want to eat star-patterned sea cucumbers. Make some more for me. Isn't this also to help you cultivate? The star-patterned sea cucumber is ready." After saying that, he took out a few dishes from the space of the spirit pearl. Under the command of Wang Daoyuan, the clone in the space was quite good at cooking. Lei Peng's flying boat flew along the boundary between the ice field and the sea for more than 2 years. Wang Daoyuan sensed the aura of level 5 spirit qi, which meant that the Qixing Sea Xiaoxian community was not far away. Along the way, they had to stop frequently to explore the volcano on the island, and sometimes they had to take detours. However, this speed wasn't slow at all. It was even shorter than the time he took to return from the Sea of Seven Stars. When he was refining the Lei Peng airship, he used good materials and put in a lot of effort, so the airship didn't have any serious problems. The two clones were also working very hard. They used more than 10 beastskin books to record the situation of the islands along the way. This was also the first logbook of Beiyuan Xiaoxian community. There were hundreds of thousands of islands recorded. In addition to the approximate location, the size, shape, and whether there were spirit veins on the islands were recorded. In the future, they would have to screen out suitable places to build arrays or transit stations from these islands. Now that they were at the edge of the Sea of Seven Stars, it would be too conspicuous to take the Lei Peng airship again. A ball of dark green spiritual energy appeared in Wang Daoyuan's hand. It contained a rich life force. With a gentle wave of his hand, the mass of spiritual energy flew to Zhou Wan and soon completely merged into her body. "Shadow Lord, wake up. We have reached the edge of the Qixing Sea Shuxian community. Now we need to change to an ordinary flying boat. Do you want to get up yourself, or do you want me to carry you to the new flying boat with your bedding? With a large amount of vitality, Xiaofan immediately woke up, but she was still a little confused. She rubbed her eyes. Huh? We're here so soon. If Shadow Lord thinks it's too fast, I can fly around the Qixing Sea Shuxian community. We can stay on the flying boat for a while. Who wants to stay here? You go out first. I'll change my clothes. We're an old married couple, still. Xiaofan glared at Wang Daoyuan, and he quickly slipped out of the room. People under the eaves had to bow their heads. Xiaofan's cultivation had also broken through to the late stage of yuanying, and her strength had improved a lot. Especially the method of twisting the soft flesh on the waist, she could break Wang Daoyuan's defense again. After waiting for 4 hours, Xiaofan changed into a fiery red dress and walked out of the room. Wang Daoyuan praised, Shadow Lord is still so radiant. Hearing the praise, Xiaofan had a complacent expression. You have good taste. What should we do next? According to what you said before, the late stage and peak stage yuanying cultivators in the Sea of 7 Stars are also the pillars of the major forces, and they won't be sent out easily. Won't it be too conspicuous for us to run around like this? Just suppress your cultivation to the early stage of yuanying. The early stage yuanying cultivators in the Sea of 7 Stars often travel outside. However, it's best to change your appearance. Especially with your appearance, if you don't disguise yourself, I'll have to kill a lot more people. In order to prevent the cultivators in the Sea of 7 Stars from dying, it's better for you to cover up. Wang Daoyuan flattered her for a long time, and Xiaofan was very satisfied. She used the disguise technique and changed her appearance to become a little more ordinary. She put away Lei Peng's flying boat, replaced it with an ordinary low-grade 5th-grade flying boat, and continued to head east. After traveling 200,000 to 300,000 kilometers to the east, some small islands began to appear in front of them. These islands were really too small, less than 5 kilometers in diameter. However, there were many cave abodes opened by cultivators on the islands, and many rogue cultivators went in and out. Although there were small spirit veins on the islands, it was impossible to set up a strong enough defensive formation to live on such a small area. Such an island's defensive ability against demon beasts was very weak, and it was not suitable for a large number of cultivators to live on. The first stop in the Qixing Sea Shuxian community last time, Demon Hunter Island, was an island that was more than 200 kilometers long and dozens of kilometers wide. Demon Hunter Island was definitely not small, but even so, no forces were willing to manage it. These small islands were less than 5 kilometers in diameter, but there were many cultivators living on them. It was indeed too abnormal. Shadow Lord, these islands are not normal. Maybe something has happened in the Sea of 7 Stars. Let's go down and investigate the situation. Xiaofan still knew the severity of the matter. Seeing Wang Daoyuan so serious, there must be a problem. We'll listen to you. Let's go down and take a look. Wang Daoyuan controlled the flying boat and landed on a small island. Several late-stage golden core cultivators who flew over hurriedly saluted. Greetings, seniors. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. You're welcome. We've been traveling the Sea of 7 Stars for many years, and we've just returned. Seeing that this place is quite lively, we feel a bit strange. There's nothing special about this place, so why are there so many cultivators gathered here? An old cultivator sighed. I was born in the area of Hidden Yuan Island and cultivated there for hundreds of years. If there was nothing, who would be willing to come to this bitter cold place? Blood Shark and the 7 Stars Alliance have started a full-scale war again, and both sides have recruited a large number of rogue cultivators. Once golden core cultivators like us are captured, we will become cannon fodder. We had no choice but to leave Hidden Yuan Island and come here to hide. This place is more than 1,000,000 kilometers away from Hidden Yuan Island, and hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from Blood Shark's territory. There are no high-level spirit veins or special spiritual items here, so the two forces don't want to care about this place. Therefore, many cultivators fled here to seek refuge. The two sides haven't fought for more than 2,000 years. Before we went out to sea, the strength of both sides didn't change greatly. Logically speaking, neither side has the strength to defeat the other. There's Mystic Ice Island in the north, and Myriad Demon Island in the south. Isn't fighting now giving Mystic Ice Island and Myriad Demon Island an opportunity? Who started this war? Senior, you're asking the wrong person. I'm just a golden core cultivator, and I don't know as much as you. How would I know why the two forces are fighting? Chapter 985. In the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community, golden core cultivators were only qualified to participate in the war. These people usually worked as laborers to provide spiritual power for the flying battleships. These golden core cultivators were all independent cultivators, so they didn't know much and couldn't get much information out of them. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand. Fine, I'll ask the other Daoyu. Go do what you need to do. The golden core cultivators felt like they had been pardoned and quickly escaped on clouds. Although Wang Daoyuan didn't kill them, it was common for high-level cultivators to kill low-level cultivators if they didn't get a satisfactory answer. Zhou asked, the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark are fighting. What should we do? The edge of the Ice Sea is the buffer zone between the Sea of Seven Stars and Xianzhou Island. Now, the Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark are fighting to the death, but they won't do anything to provoke Xianzhou Island. Even if they want to catch cannon fodder, they won't come here easily. Let's go east along the edge of the ice. We shouldn't run into any powerful cultivators. This island was only 3 to 5 miles wide. They could scan the entire island with their divine senses. The island was full of golden core cultivators, so they wouldn't have any valuable information. They wouldn't be able to find anything if they stayed on this island. The main goal of this trip to the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community was to find 6th-level items of pure yin and pure yang that could help them reach the soul formation stage. These items weren't like the brilliant sun gold. Although the brilliant sun gold also had 6th-level pure yang qi, it was completely integrated into the material. The brilliant sun gold was very tough, so it was impossible to extract the pure yang qi from it. Therefore, this item could only be used as a material for refining artifacts and couldn't be used to assist cultivation. There weren't many items that could help people reach the soul formation stage in the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community. Most of them were controlled by the major forces. For outsiders like Wang Daoyuan, they could only find them in the Sunset Abyss. Legend had it that in ancient times, a golden crow fell into the sea. There happened to be a high-level yin meridian where it fell. Therefore, the setting sun abyss formed an environment where yin and yang coexisted. There were many pure yin and pure yang spirit objects at the bottom of the sea, some of which could help cultivators break through to the soul formation stage. Before escaping from the Sea of Seven Stars, Wang Daoyuan had participated in an auction. At that time, he had bid for a treasure map of the Sunset Abyss, which recorded the various phases produced in the Sunset Abyss. The setting sun abyss was located at the edge of the endless ice sea. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou only needed to head east to reach the setting sun abyss. The flying boat headed east and flew for 400,000 to 500,000 miles. This place was only a few 100,000 miles away from the Sunset Abyss. Back then, he had obtained a beastskin book from Uncle Zhong, which recorded the basic information of each island in the Sea of Seven Stars. Tens of thousands of miles south of here, there was an island occupied by Blood Shark called Quiet Spring Island. About a few 100,000 miles east of Quiet Spring Island, there was an island occupied by the Seven Stars Alliance called Setting Sun Island. The Setting Sun Abyss was extremely important. Neither the Blood Shark or the Seven Stars Alliance would give up on fighting for it, so there must be a large number of cultivators stationed on these two islands. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to cause trouble, so he lowered the flying boat's altitude and flew close to the surface of the sea to avoid attracting too much attention. Along the way, he saw cultivators from the Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance patrolling from afar, but they didn't dare to approach the IC. Wang Daoyuan was also happy to have some free time, so he continued to head toward the Setting Sun Abyss. At the western edge of the Setting Sun Abyss, there was an island called Lone Star Island. This island was quite large, with a diameter of more than 200 miles. There was a mid-sized rank 5 spirit vein on the island. Lone Star Island was located at the intersection of the Seven Stars Alliance, the Blood Shark, and the Mystic Ice Island. It was also the island closest to the Setting Sun Abyss. The three great powers didn't dare to easily take Lone Star Island under their control, so it became an ungoverned territory. Usually, cultivators who entered the Setting Sun Abyss to search for treasures would stop here for a while. Although Wang Daoyuan didn't know nothing about the Setting Sun Abyss, he didn't have very accurate information. He had the treasure map, the escape experience of the 10,000 Corp spiritual master, and the information that Uncle Zhong had given him. The treasure map was from tens of thousands of years ago, and the escape of the 10,000 Corp spiritual master had happened thousands of years ago. Moreover, the 10,000 Corp spiritual master's cultivation was low, so he didn't go too deep. The information that Uncle Zhong had given him only involved the situation around the Setting Sun Abyss, but there was no information about the bottom of the sea. Without accurate information, entering the Setting Sun Abyss rashly could be dangerous. To be safe, it was better to stop at Lone Star Island for a while and inquire about the situation there. The flying boat landed on the western side of Lone Star Island. There weren't any cities or anything like that on the island. There was only a simple market without any array formations protecting it. The two of them walked straight toward the market. At the edge of the market, there was a simple wooden archway with the words Lone Star Market written on it. There were very few buildings in the market, and most of the cultivators who did business set up stalls. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan walked straight into the market, and no one stopped them. Although the Lone Star Market was simple, it wasn't small. It stretched for 20 to 30 kilometers, and there were many cultivators doing business there. The scorching sun coral dug out from the Setting Sun Abyss can be used to temper yuanying. It's very useful when breaking through a cultivation realm. Don't miss it. The netherworld chalcedony obtained from the Setting Sun Abyss can be used as a pure spiritual item to temper yuanying. It's rare to see one in 100 years. Such hawking voices rose and fell one after another, as if the goods in everyone's hands were rare treasures. Wang Daoyuan was also a wily old fox who had been traveling all year round, so he had seen many of these small peddlers' tricks. A few itinerant cultivators who set up stalls came up to strike up a conversation, but he ignored them. The two of them arrived at the center of the market, where there were some buildings that weren't very tall. One of them was a gorgeously decorated shop, and the words, Starbright Pavilion, were written on the signboard at the front door. From the discussions of the itinerant cultivators nearby, this Starbright Pavilion seemed to be a shop that sold information. Wang Daoyuan's interest was immediately piqued. This kind of shop was naturally the best place to inquire about information. The two of them walked into the shop, and a young cultivator in a white robe came up to them. Dao, you are also here to buy information, right? Please follow me. With that, he brought the two of them to a secret room on the second floor. This person was young, but his cultivation was already at the mid-stage of yuanying. Although the white robe on his body was simple and unadorned, it faintly emitted the pure power of the stars. This person either had a Dharma weapon refined from a star core on him, or he had a special constitution related to the power of the stars like Xian Jiuxiao. The three of them arrived at the secret room and sat down. The white-robed cultivator cupped his hands and said, "Dao Yu, do you want to inquire about information about pure yin and pure yang spiritual items, or do you want to know how to enter the setting sun abyss?" "I have two questions. First, what dangers are there in the setting sun abyss and how to avoid them? Second, why are Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance fighting again?" The white-robed cultivator chuckled. It seems that Dao Yu has his ways. He doesn't need to inquire about the location of pure yin and pure yang spiritual items. The setting sun abyss is the most dangerous place in the Sea of Seven Stars, so there are naturally many dangers. First, there are huge pressure everywhere in the deep sea, as well as attacks from sea demon beasts. Second, the space is unstable. When the rank 8 Golden Crow landed here, it caused a lot of damage to the space. It formed many unstable small secret realms. If you accidentally fall into an unstable secret realm, the slightest movement will cause the secret realm to collapse. Third, the white-robed cultivator stopped talking and looked at Wang Daoyuan with a smile on his face. Wang Daoyuan cursed inwardly. What a profiteer. He stopped talking about the most important part. The treasure map also mentioned the demonic beasts in the deep sea and the space's instability. It even marked out the most unstable places in the space. What he was most worried about was the appearance of new dangers or changes in the distribution of demonic beasts. If he blindly followed the treasure map, he might encounter danger. He took out a Qiankuan bag. There are 500 high-grade spirit stones in here. Is it enough to buy information? The white-robed cultivator smiled. It's barely enough. Looking at your faces, it should be your first time doing business with my Starbright Pavilion. I'll take a loss. 500 high-grade spirit stones for 2 pieces of information. Dao Yu made a big profit. Chapter 986. Although Wang Daoyuan smelled the scent of a profiteer, he still feigned civility. "Thank you, Dao Yu, for your generous help." The white-clothed cultivator smiled. "It's no problem. Since Dao Yu didn't ask about the yin-yang spiritual items and asked about the situation in the sea, you must have some connections." Most likely, he had some connections and knew where the yin-yang spiritual items were produced. He just wanted to ask what dangers there were. There hasn't been much turmoil in the Sunset Abyss. There are only some changes in the types of demon beasts and their distribution. I have a simple map here that shows the more dangerous areas in the depths of the Sunset Abyss. You'll understand once you take a look. However, my shop is a small business, so please don't leak this map out, Dao Yu. Then, he took out a jade slip. Wang Daoyuan reached out to take it, but the white-clothed cultivator retracted his hand. He took out a storage bag. Dao Yu really knows how to do business. Here are 300 high-grade spirit stones. However, Dao Yu has to give me something in return. There are dangers everywhere underwater and the demon beasts in the sea all have their own abilities. Do you have any defensive measures against demon beasts? Wang Daoyuan didn't need any defensive measures, but Zhou Wan did. She was a fire-type cultivator and her combat power was greatly reduced underwater. If she didn't have any special measures, Wang Daoyuan didn't have full confidence in protecting her if she was attacked by a large number of demon beasts in the sea. The white-clothed cultivator took the Qiankuan bag and handed the jade slip to Wang Daoyuan. Of course. There's a blacksmithing workshop across the street. The magic artifacts they make are used to deal with all kinds of dangers in the Sunset Abyss. Dao Yu can go take a look. As long as you have spirit stones, you can buy anything. What's going on with the battle between Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance? Before I went on my travels, both sides had more than enough defense and less than enough offense. In just a few decades, their strength can't have changed too much. Neither side can swallow the other. If they fight now, they'll just waste resources and give Mystic Ice Island and Myriad Demon Island an opportunity. The white-clothed cultivator smiled and said, I'm also curious about this matter. It seems like Dao Yu often travels outside. They should know about our business, and they also need to buy information. Only the upper echelons of the two families knew why the war had broken out. It's impossible for those higher-ups to sell the information to the store, and we have no way of knowing the confidential information. Since Dao Yu is paying for information, we can only tell him what we know. The war started more than 20 years ago. The first place where the war started was Rare Treasures Island. Dao Yu also knows that place is at the southern end of the Sea of Seven Stars, while we are at the northernmost end of the Sea of Seven Stars. Even if the rogue cultivators wanted to escape, they would run towards the Myriad Devil Islands. Very few of them would come here. Our Bright Star Pavilion is just a small business, we don't have any other branches. We don't know the exact details either. All we know is that Blood Shark made the first move and seized Rare Treasure Island. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Rare Treasures Island is the balance point between the two sides, and it's also a trade center. No matter which side obtains Rare Treasures Island, they will gain a huge amount of resources and manpower. They can also use Rare Treasures Island as a springboard to threaten the other side's hinterland. If Blood Shark seized Rare Treasures Island, the Seven Stars Alliance will definitely fight for it with all their might. Dao Yu is in the information business. Even if you don't have the exact information, you should have heard a lot of rumors. Tell me about them. The white-clothed cultivator smiled. It seems like Dao Yu is quite familiar with Rare Treasures Island. Rare Treasures Island is indeed an important place. No one dares to give it up. Now that Rare Treasures Island is in the hands of Blood Shark, the Seven Stars Alliance's inheritance is not as good as Blood Shark's, and they rely on their advantage in resources. Now that their advantage in resources is threatened, they will naturally fight with all their might. As for those rumors, my Bright Star Pavilion never sells them. I can tell Dao Yu for free if we can't confirm the authenticity of the information. However, if this information is wrong in the future, don't come looking for trouble. Wang Daoyuan chuckled. Dao Yu must be joking. Do you think I'm someone who doesn't know what's good for me? My wife and I are both rogue cultivators. No matter how the two sides fight, it has nothing to do with us. Just tell me if you have any rumors. That's good. There are a lot of rumors about this. There are a total of 3 rumors that I think are quite reliable. First, someone found something left behind from ancient times on Rare Treasures Island. Some say it's a tomb of a mighty person, while some say it's a large-scale secret realm like the Seven Stars Secret Realm. Not only are there a lot of resources, but there are also many inheritances from ancient great sections. Second, some rare treasure has appeared on Rare Treasures Island. It's said that someone brought a treasure to an auction house to put it up for auction. The auction house's appraiser saw that the treasure was extraordinary. This appraiser also had dealings with Blood Shark, so he leaked this information. The Blood Shark pirates decided to strike first to gain the upper hand. Thus, they took down Rare Treasure Island. Third, Dao Yu should have heard of Imperial Wind Monarch, right? There are rumors that he's back. Imperial Wind Monarch had cultivated to the peak of Soul Formation back then. He went to the Blue Dragon Ruins in search of an opportunity to break through to Soul Formation. He even brought 2 Soul Formation cultivators with him. The great sects of the Seven Stars Alliance took advantage of this opportunity to break through the Imperial Regency with the help of traders. They even destroyed the teleportation formation so that Imperial Wind Monarch couldn't come back. It had been more than 7,000 years since that incident. Imperial Wind Monarch was more than 3,000 years old at that time. If he hadn't broken through to the Mahayana realm, he would have died a long time ago. Wang Daoyuan pondered for a long time. That's not right. Although my cultivation is low, I still know a thing or two about the strength of a Mahayana cultivator. The forces of the Seven Stars Alliance have never had a Mahayana cultivator, so they don't have the means to deal with Mahayana cultivators. If Imperial Wind Monarch is really back, why would we need to go to war? We can just go to their door and destroy the leading great sects of the Seven Stars Alliance. The white-robed cultivator smiled. It's all hearsay. Who can tell whether it's true or not? These three sayings are still plausible. The other sayings are baseless, so I didn't say anything. Dao Yu, that's all you want to know. Do you have any other information? Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, that's all. If I need any more information in the future, I'll come and find Dao Yu. Goodbye. With that, he left the Starbright Pavilion with Zhou Wan. The white-robed cultivator sent them all the way to the door. After knowing the general situation, Wang Daoyuan felt a little irritated. Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance were fighting over Rare Treasure Island. Although the north was a little more peaceful, it wasn't easy either. Although there was no substantial evidence for the three rumors mentioned by the white-robed cultivator, the first two were still possible. The first rumor, in particular, was very likely. After all, it was unlikely that there would be a Tier 7 spirit item in the Sea of Seven Stars. Even if there was, it would be difficult to change the contrast in strength between the two sides. Even a powerful Tier 7 Dharma artifact wouldn't be able to make up for the difference in resources and manpower. The most likely reason for the two sides to fight to the death was the appearance of a mystic realm. Back then, the Sea of Seven Stars was the territory of the Shunlian school. If they could have a Seven Stars mystic realm, it was possible that there were other mystic realms. If they really found a big mystic realm like the Seven Stars mystic realm, it could indeed change the contrast in strength between the two sides. Both sides would definitely not give up on fighting for the mystic realm. This battle would still be fought. Wang Daoyuan originally wanted to find a stable place to settle down in the Sea of Seven Stars and migrate some of his clansmen over to slowly develop and strengthen. However, both sides were in the midst of a fierce battle, and there was no possibility of it ending in a short period of time. The entire Sea of Seven Stars was in a turbulent environment. It was extremely difficult to find a stable place. Moreover, this environment wasn't suitable for the development of a new force. The two of them had been Dao companions for more than 200 years. Zhou Wan knew him very well. She held his hand and comforted him with a voice transmission. Don't think too much. My clone has memorized so many islands along the way. Just find a few islands that are big enough and have high-grade spirit veins to settle down. It won't be too late to expand after a few years of operation. With us guarding it together, we won't have to be afraid of the two forces coming over to find trouble. Wang Daoyuan nodded. The two of them walked to a blacksmithing workshop opposite the Starbright Pavilion. This blacksmithing workshop was called the Sunset Abyss Blacksmithing Workshop. The workshop was quite lively. The few cultivators in charge of receiving customers were too busy. Chapter 987. Most of the customers of the Sunset Abyss were Golden Core cultivators. After all, this was a lawless place, and many people came here to seek refuge. The shopkeeper of the Sunset Abyss was quite capable. When he saw Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan, two Yuanian cultivators, enter, he hurriedly went forward to welcome them. Dao Yu, what kind of Dharma artifacts would you like? Although our shop is a small business, we have all kinds of goods. In particular, we have all kinds of Dharma artifacts that can be used near the Sunset Abyss. Wang Daoyuan glanced around. The Dharma artifacts on the first floor were all grade 4. Zhou Wan was a late-stage Yuanian cultivator, so these Dharma artifacts were useless to her. If your shop only has grade 4 Dharma artifacts, then we'll be leaving. When he heard this, the shopkeeper was not anxious. Instead, he was delighted. How can there not be any hard goods when doing business in this place? It's only because of the high demand for grade 4 Dharma artifacts that we put them on the first floor. Dao Yu, if you want grade 5 Dharma artifacts, please follow me to the second floor. With that said, he led the way. When the three of them arrived on the second floor, the shopkeeper pointed to 4 very large rooms. These 4 rooms store Dharma artifacts. They are offensive, defensive, auxiliary, and Dharma artifacts with more complicated functions. Dao Yu, feel free to look around. I'm not boasting, but as long as you can see Dharma artifacts outside, you can also see them in this room. Wang Daoyuan smiled. Dao Yu do business on Lone Star Island, so you must know the situation in the Sunset Abyss. We want to enter the Sunset Abyss to look for pure Yin and pure Yang spiritual items. Dao Yu, please recommend the Dharma artifacts that we need. The shopkeeper was stunned and glanced at them. Dao Yu's cultivation is only about the same as mine. The shallow waters of the Sunset Abyss are fine. There are not many places that can threaten Yuanian cultivators. However, if you want to go deep into the sea, it will be very dangerous. High-grade grade 5 demon beasts are very common. They even appear in groups. More than 1,000 years ago, there were cases where cultivators encountered 6th-order demonic beasts and escaped with serious injuries. If we are on land, we humans are not afraid of demons of the same level. But in the sea, the strength of sea monsters increased greatly. Human cultivators of the same level would find it difficult to defeat them. With their strength, they would definitely die if they entered the depths of the setting sun abyss. The 2 Dao Yu were still young, probably less than 500 years old. By absorbing the essence of the sun and moon, one could also gather enough pure Yin and Yang Qi. As long as I can reach the divinity transformation stage, it's not a big deal even if I delay the breakthrough for a few hundred years. I don't have to take the risk. This shopkeeper was kind-hearted. The life and death of these 2 people had nothing to do with him. On the contrary, it was more beneficial for him to take the risk. Dao Yu is an honest and considerate person. However, the 2 of us have already made up our minds to go to the setting sun abyss and give it a try. We also have some life-saving means in our hands. As long as we don't encounter a 6th-order monster beast, we still have some confidence in escaping. I just want to buy some auxiliary magic tools so that I can retreat safely. The shopkeeper sighed. Forget it. Since you insist, I am a businessman. I can't reject the god of fortune. Please follow me. The 3 of them entered a room where auxiliary magic tools were stored. I see that this female Dao Yu is a fire attribute cultivator. It is difficult for her to use her full strength in the sea. She needs to use the water avoidance pearl to protect herself. However, our store lacks materials. The water avoidance pearl is only a temporary magic tool. It will break after 2 to 3 months. Of course, the price is also cheap. A 5th-order mid-grade water avoidance pearl only costs 300 high-grade spirit stones. This water avoidance pearl was refined from a crystal-type material and was not very strong. Wang Daoyuan nodded. This thing is not bad. Give me 5. Seeing that he was so generous, the shopkeeper was overjoyed. There are a few types of sharks in the setting sun abyss. Their intelligence is not low and they are not easy to deal with. I have the blood madness powder refined from the blood essence of demonic beasts. It is fatally attractive to shark-type demonic beasts. Just a little bit will attract a large number of sharks. Moreover, after the sharks swallow the blood madness powder, they will fall into a deranged state and kill each other regardless of friend or foe. The price is slightly higher, 500 spirit stones per bottle. One bottle can be used 3 times and can attract all the sharks within a radius of 2,000 kilometers. The usage is also simple. Wrap the blood madness powder with spiritual energy and send it far away. Disperse the spiritual energy and the blood madness powder will naturally dissolve into the water. The jade bottle used to store the blood madness powder was an ordinary pill bottle. The shopkeeper opened the jade bottle and showed it to Wang Daoyuan. It was filled with dark red powder. This was a good thing. It could attract sharks to other places to kill each other. Once a shark was bitten to death, the smell of blood would attract more sharks and there would be no danger. Give me 3 bottles. What other good things do you want to recommend? There is also a special fluorescent pearl. The fluorescent light it emits is extremely attractive to demonic beasts in the deep sea that do not see light all year round. One fluorescent pearl can illuminate a radius of 300 kilometers for more than a month. Fluorescent pearls are relatively cheap. They cost 10 high-grade spirit stones each. There are only so many ways to deal with demonic beasts in the deep sea. As for the other artifacts, I'm sure Dao Yu won't lack them. After saying this, he took out another pearl that was flickering with fluorescent light. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Then give me 10 more fluorescent pearls. The shopkeeper ordered someone to bring the things he wanted. After paying the spirit stones, the 2 of them left the shop. They found a cave residence on Lone Star Island and after a few days of rest, they entered the sea. Although Wang Daoyuan had drifted on the sea many times, he didn't have much experience in fighting in the sea. Zhou Luan was even more so. After leaving Beiyuan Xiuxian, this was the first time she saw the sea. Even though she used a water avoidance pearl, she was still a little scared. Not long after the 2 of them entered the sea, Zhou Luan used her divine sense to scan the surroundings for fear of encountering demonic beasts. Wang Daoyuan comforted her through voice transmission. Lord Shadow Lord, don't worry. I have a domain ability and am best at group battles. 10 or 25th grade demonic beasts won't be enough for me to kill. Just stay by my side. If there's any danger that I can't deal with, I'll put you in my portable mystic realm. The Sunset Abyss was indeed the place where the golden crow fell. The seabed was really deep. The 2 of them went more than 50,000 feet and only encountered a few seamounts. These seamounts were also important landmarks for exploring the seabed. They could use them to deduce their location. The 2 of them carefully avoided the demonic beasts and slowly dived. After 4 to 6 hours, they finally saw the seabed. Rough estimation showed that the depth of this place was more than 10,000 feet. Through the surrounding scenery and the various information he knew, Wang Daoyuan deduced that the location they appeared in was called Ink Shark Valley. In the past, ink shark often appeared. Later, the spirit veins here were damaged, and the spirit power was greatly reduced. Many ink shark groups ran out, and the number of 4th grade and 5th grade demonic beasts decreased. Now, low-grade demonic beasts dominated this place. According to the records on the treasure map, if they continued east along Ink Shark Valley and passed through an area with more demonic beasts, they would reach White Bone Gully. Legend had it that White Bone Gully was formed when the Golden Crow fell, causing the seabed to shake and crack. The Yin Qi in White Bone Gully was rich, and many Yin attribute spiritual objects were formed. This was also the safest place among the places that produced 6th grade pure Yin spiritual objects. Wang Daoyuan's destination this time was also White Bone Gully. Under the heavy pressure, the seawater had also changed. Spiritual sense was greatly restricted. Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense could only see the situation within 30 miles. Not to mention his eyes, there was no light in the sea. Cultivators could see at night, but there had to be a glimmer. Without a glimmer of light, his eyes were not of much use. He grabbed Zhou Luan's hand tightly to prevent the 2 of them from being separated. In such an environment, they could be attacked by demonic beasts at any time. Suddenly, he remembered that there was still a soul-chasing compass in his sea of consciousness. This thing could detect everything with souls, and it came in handy now. The compass opened, and a light screen formed above the compass. All life forms within a radius of 300 miles were shown on the compass. The moment the compass opened, a dim green light spot quickly approached the two of them. Chapter 988. Demon beasts had weak souls, so it was normal for the light spot to be dim. Since the light spot was blue, it must be a rank 5 demon beast. Killing a rank 5 demon beast didn't take much effort for Wang Daoyuan. However, he had to make as little noise as possible to take down this demon beast, and he couldn't let it bleed. Although there weren't many rank 5 demon beasts in Ink Shark Valley, it was only at the bottom of the sea. Many species of demon beasts didn't like to stay in the deep sea for too long, so they usually lived in shallow areas. Otherwise, Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan could enter the sea from the top of White Bone Gully. Because they had to avoid those demon beasts that liked to stay in shallow water, there were very few places in the Sunset Abyss where they could enter the sea. Even if they wanted to go to the center of the Sunset Abyss to search for treasures, they could only enter the sea from a few fixed places at the edge. Of course, if they weren't afraid of being attacked by dozens or even hundreds of rank 5 demon beasts, they could enter the sea from anywhere. However, no one below the soul formation stage should have this ability. If they made too much noise here, even demon beasts that didn't like to stay in the sea wouldn't mind coming over to cause trouble. Sensing the approach of demon beasts, Wang Daoyuan pulled Zhou Wan behind him. "There's a demon beast coming, be careful." Although she wasn't good at fighting in the sea, Zhou Wan still started to gather her spiritual power, ready to attack at any time. After a few seconds, a strange fish emerged from the rocks. This guy's body was a bit like a shark, but its head looked like a carp. There were 2 fleshy feelers on its mouth, and its body was covered with very large hard scales. Seeing its appearance, Wang Daoyuan immediately remembered the records related to it. This demon beast was called the dragon scale shark. It was said that it was a cross between a shark and a dragon. There had been such a thing in the sea outside Beiyuan. The dragon scale shark inherited the fierceness and speed of sharks, as well as the strong defensive ability of dragons. It was stronger than ordinary sharks and could be considered a tyrant in the deep sea. Some sharks with a high concentration of dragon blood even had the ability to control water. They could even compete with flood dragons. However, this demon beast didn't like to be in groups and usually acted alone. Therefore, it wasn't a big threat to humans. The dragon scale shark in front of him was a mid-grade 5th level dragon scale shark. In this deep sea, its strength wasn't inferior to the average late-stage Yuaniing cultivator. The dragon scale mermaids had inherited the keen sense of smell of sharks. It was too late to hide now. Of course, Wang Daoyuan didn't take him seriously. He unleashed his divine ability domain, and a huge water prison instantly formed. In order to avoid causing too much of a commotion, the water prison did not clash with the dragon scale shark. Instead, it slowly increased the resistance to its movement. Under this resistance, its speed became slower and slower. The water prison also slowly shrank. By the time it wanted to struggle, its entire body was already tightly wrapped by the water prison. It was very difficult for it to even move. A wisp of black spiritual fire appeared out of nowhere and entered the dragon scale shark's body. After a dozen breaths, the dragon scale shark stopped moving. His soul had already been completely annihilated under the burning of the Gui water death flame. Wang Daoyuan stored the corpse into the spirit pearl space and handed it over to his clone to deal with. Only then did Zhou Wan let out a sigh of relief. A rank 5 middle-grade demonic beast died just like that without a sound. "When did you become so powerful?" You still don't know how powerful I am? The bottom of the sea was full of danger. Xiaofan didn't continue to insult him. She just glared at him. At this time, the clone had already taken out the dragon scale shark's monster core. This monster's dragon blood was not low. The monster core had already turned into a pseudo-dragon pearl. Wang Daoyuan didn't have many mid-grade rank 5 pseudo-dragon pearls. Although the quality was a bit poor, it was still a rare refining material. The two continued to swim towards the east. Soon, they arrived at the easternmost end of Ink Shark Valley. There was a rank 6 low-grade spirit vein in the east. The spirit qi was extremely abundant. The abundant spirit qi nurtured a large number of corals and marine spirit plants. These corals and spirit plants attracted a large number of monster beasts. These corals and marine spirit plants all emitted a weak jade-green light. The light emitted by countless corals and spirit plants gathered together, illuminating the dark bottom of the sea. In addition to the many corals and high terrain, this sea area was called the Green Dragon Ridge. This spirit vein was roughly north-south. The corals and spirit plants grew near the spirit vein. The entire Green Dragon Ridge was more than 100,000 miles long from north to south and more than 2,000 miles wide from east to west. It would take a long time to go around it. There were other dangerous places along the way. Going straight through was the most reliable choice. There were all kinds of monster beasts living in the corals. Wang Daoyuan and Xiaofan were hiding dozens of miles away. They could clearly see some rank 5 monster beasts. Xiaofan looked at the Green Dragon Ridge in front of her and asked, "How should we go over? We can't just barge in, right? There are too many monster beasts. If we rely on stealth, we will inevitably be discovered. It's better to use the blood madness powder to lure away some of the monster beasts." Then, he took out some blood madness powder and wrapped it with spirit power. He controlled the spirit power ball to fly towards the north. In order to lure the monster beasts further away, Wang Daoyuan even used his divine ability domain. Through the power of the divine ability domain, the blood madness powder was sent 500 miles away. The spirit power ball dispersed. The dark red powder instantly blended into the sea water. A strong smell of blood spread. After a dozen breaths of time, the monster beasts in the Green Dragon Ridge became restless. The rank 5 monster beasts gathered 500 miles north of the two of them. Many of them even passed by Wang Daoyuan and Xiaofan. The two of them used secret techniques to hide their bodies. The monster beasts were attracted by the blood madness powder and did not discover them. Wang Daoyuan observed the situation over there through his divine ability domain. After half a cup of tea's time, the rank 5 monster beasts that arrived first had already begun to attack each other. Even the monster beasts that were not interested in the smell of blood went over to watch the show. There was a monster beast war over there. The number of monster beasts that died would not be small. For the monster beasts, casually picking up meat to eat was much better than cultivating bitterly. If they were lucky and could obtain an inner core, they would have profited greatly. The monster beasts that passed by the two of them decreased. They also began to slowly move east. Once the monster beasts in the sea saw blood, they would not stop in a short time. The rank 5 monster beasts went to watch the show. The rank 4 monster beasts were nothing to be afraid of. The two of them calmly crossed the Green Dragon Ridge and came to a nameless deep ravine. More than 500 miles east of the Green Dragon Ridge was their destination, Whitebone Ravine. The ravine that the two of them were in led directly to Whitebone Ravine. There were not many monster beasts here. In this deep ravine, one could feel the cold yin qi that spread from Whitebone Ravine. As they continued forward, the yin qi would only get thicker. Most monster beasts did not like yin qi. Naturally, there were not many monster beasts here. More than 500 miles was nothing to two Yuanian cultivators. However, this cold yin qi was somewhat unbearable for Zhou Wan. The Scarlet Phoenix Nirvana Fire's ability to resist the cold yin qi was not strong. Moreover, the yin qi here was rank 6 yin qi. Wang Daoyuan channeled some pure yang qi into her body to resist the yin qi's invasion. Only then did she feel slightly better. White Bone Ravine lived up to its name. Many monster bones could be seen more than 500 miles away. Not only were there shark bones and other common monster bones, there were also many flood dragon bones. Unfortunately, these bones were contaminated by the yin qi and had already decayed. They were not suitable for refining tools. With the protection of the Scarlet Yang Primordial Fire's pure yang qi, the yin qi did not cause too much of an impact. The two of them quickly arrived at the west bank of White Bone Ravine. The entire ravine was 500 miles wide and hundreds of feet deep. It was unknown how long it was. As far as the eye could see, the ravine was filled with white bones. On the white bones, a faint blue light flickered. Dao Yuan, there seems to be something wrong with this light. After I took a look, I had the urge to walk over. However, it was not very strong. Wang Daoyuan stared at the light on the white bones. He did not feel anything. I did not feel anything. It should be a problem with my spiritual sense. This light does not have an obvious effect on human yuanying cultivators. However, monster beasts' spiritual senses are far inferior to humans. They are easily affected by this light. The formation of White Bone Ravine is probably related to this light. A large number of monster beasts were attracted by the light. They could not withstand the dense yin qi and died here. After a long time, the white bones piled up and formed the scene in front of us. Chapter 989. After a careful search, there were still many demon corpses that had not completely rotted. These corpses were also emitting a faint blue glow. It was unknown how this faint blue glow was formed, but it could actually form a fatal trap here. Human cultivators came to search for spiritual items and did not dare to stay here for too long. Thus, they did not know much about White Bone Gully. Wang Daoyuan never liked to complicate matters. No matter how lethal this place was to the demon beasts, it had nothing to do with him. Human cultivators who dared to come here to search for treasures were at least in the middle or late stages of yuanying. Even if they could not completely ignore the light's influence like him, they could at least escape. White Bone Gully's special environment nurtured a kind of level 6 yin-type spiritual item that could temper the yuanying and turn it into an essence soul, the unmetamorphosed bone. This item was originally a demon beast's bone, and it was mainly the bone where the demon beast's blood essence condensed. For example, the sharp teeth of tiger-type demon beasts, the wings of demon beasts, and other bones. These bones were the most commonly used and important bones of demon beasts when they were alive. After being nourished by the blood essence for a long time, it was naturally extraordinary and easier to form the unmetamorphosed bone. The higher the cultivation level and the stronger the body of the demon beast, the higher the possibility of forming the unmetamorphosed bone. In the special environment of White Bone Gully, this kind of bone would not rot easily. Instead, it could absorb a large amount of yin energy. After a long time, a small number of bones could withstand the corrosion of yin energy and all kinds of mixed energy and absorb a large amount of yin energy. Only when the body's material had undergone a fundamental change could it be called the unmetamorphosed bone. However, the unmetamorphosed bone was born in an environment like White Bone Gully. When it absorbed yin energy, it could not do without things like corpse energy. The yin qi in it was extremely mixed and was far from pure yin qi. Directly using it to temper the yuanying might damage the foundation. However, level 6 yin-type spiritual items were extremely rare. It was good enough to have one that could be used. It was very difficult to find a level 6 spiritual item with extremely pure yin and yang energy. Therefore, humans created many methods to temper the unmetamorphosed bone. The Valley of Beasts had such methods. Although it could not completely eliminate the influence of corpse energy, it could reduce it to a negligible level. Wang Daoyuan looked at the white bone gully in front of him. As long as we can find a fist-sized piece of unmelted bone, we can go back. Zhou Wan was stunned. She asked, the unmelted bones need to be tempered, and a lot of yin qi will be lost in the process. This shouldn't be enough, right? Don't worry. I have the life spirit fire. I can dissolve the corpse qi and death qi in it without damaging the pure yin qi. Furthermore, my 5 elemental spiritual fire has already been refined into my yuanying, so some impure energy cannot harm me at all. If it weren't for the fact that he was worried about the inner demon tribulation when he broke through to the soul formation stage, he could have just used the unmetamorphosed bone. The yin qi here was extremely heavy, and these faint blue lights could damage one's consciousness. It's not easy to find an unmelted bone in White Bone Gully. Let's take our time. The pressure here is too great. If you can't handle it, you can enter my mystic realm and rest for a while. Zhou Wan chuckled, you're really stupid. With this shadow master here, do you need to take your time to find it? Wang Daoyuan was stunned. You have a way to find these things? Zhou Wan said arrogantly, of course. If I couldn't help you, why would I come down here with you? Do you think you can hook up with female cultivators in the deep sea? Open your eyes wide and watch how this shadow lord finds the phase. Saying this, she took out a simple black jade hairpin. The hairpin floated in front of her, and her hands continuously formed complicated hand seals. After a few breaths, the hairpin turned into a black flood dragon about 5 to 6 inches long. Zhou Wan waved her hand, and the black flood dragon swam into the White Bone Gully. It opened its mouth and spat out a gust of black qi. This gust of black qi didn't disperse. Instead, it gathered together and flowed in one direction. This is a magic tool left behind by one of the Blood Shadow's ancestors. Together with the accompanying secret technique, it specializes in finding pure yin spiritual items. Although the yin qi in the unmelted bones can't be considered pure yin, it's still much purer than these ordinary bones. This magic tool should be able to find it. Since you're looking for pure yin and pure yang spiritual items, I felt that this thing should be useful. That's why I took out this magic tool. Let's follow behind the little black flood dragon. We should be able to find the unmelted bones. The two of them headed southeast. After a quarter of an hour, the little black flood dragon stopped moving. The black qi it spat out earlier seeped into the pile of bones below. There should be some unmelted bones below this pile of bones. Watch me take it out. After saying this, she formed another complicated hand seal. The little black flood dragon dove into the pile of bones to search for the unmelted bones. After a few breaths, the pile of bones below began to shake. Wang Daoyuan shielded Zhou Wan behind him and took out the Xian cauldron to block in front of him. With a loud boom, a large number of bones flew out from the pile of bones that the little black flood dragon had dove into. Soon after, a resounding dragon's roar sounded. Wang Daoyuan's expression changed greatly. This dragon's roar wasn't ordinary. Under the dragon's roar, even his soul felt a tremor. He had seen many 5th-rank dragons, but they definitely didn't have this kind of strength. However, no other light spots appeared in the soul-chasing compass. Soon after, the little black flood dragon was thrown out. Immediately after, a flood dragon made of bones flew out of the White Bone Gully. This flood dragon's bloodline wasn't very pure. It only had a sharp horn on its head. There were wisps of black qi twining around the horn. Zhou Wan pointed at the horn of the bone flood dragon and said, its horn is the unmelted bones. Wang Daoyuan nodded. Stay away. Watch me kill this bone flood dragon. At this moment, the bone flood dragon opened its mouth. The faint blue light within a few hundred miles gathered in its mouth. After a dozen breaths, 2 faint blue flames appeared in the bone flood dragon's 2 eye sockets. The Xian cauldron came out. Master, this faint blue light is ghost dust. It's something left behind after a soul collapses and is formed by mixing with impure yin qi. The bone flood dragon's corpse turned into a spirit. If it continues to absorb the ghost dust, it will become stronger and stronger. Your Gui water death flame can directly burn the ghost dust. Quickly release it to burn it. Wang Daoyuan immediately released the Gui water death flame. The seawater contained a lot of spiritual power. As soon as the Gui water death flame was released, it began to burn. The divine ability domain had already been unfolded, constantly extracting the surrounding spiritual power and gathering it into the Gui water death flame. These ghost dust were really the best fuel for the Gui water death flame. When it fell into the Gui water death flame, the fire burned even more fiercely. Soon, the bone flood dragon was surrounded by the Gui water death flame. This bone flood dragon's strength was not ordinary. Naturally, it would not sit still. With a swing of its dragon tail, a huge whirlpool immediately appeared around it. After the Gui water death flame was sucked into the whirlpool, it quickly extinguished. The nearby white bones were rolled up by the whirlpool. Under the control of the bone flood dragon, these white bones smashed towards Wang Daoyuan. A huge snake skull smashed towards Wang Daoyuan. He quickly used an escape technique to dodge. The snake skull fell and smashed a hole more than 10 feet deep in the rock. This rock was not ordinary, but under the bone flood dragon, it could not withstand a single blow. Wang Daoyuan did not have such powerful strength. This bone flood dragon should have the strength of early deity transformation. Pieces of white bones smashed over, Wang Daoyuan also constantly used an escape technique to avoid all the attacks. After dozens of breaths, the white bones near the bone flood dragon were exhausted. The whirlpool continued to expand, wanting to roll in the distant white bones. Wang Daoyuan naturally would not just stand by and watch, injecting a lot of spiritual power into the Xian cauldron. The Xian cauldron flew above the whirlpool and released a powerful suppressive force. The strength of the bone flood dragon could not be underestimated. The whirlpool actually blocked the Xian cauldron. Wang Daoyuan urged with all his strength, but the Xian cauldron could not fall down. Of course, the whirlpool could no longer expand under the suppressive force. The Gui water death flame had burned the surrounding ghost dust. The ghost dust in the distance could not break through the encirclement of the Gui water death flame. No matter what it was, without external power to supplement it, it would become weaker and weaker. Unless it had a quick way to win, it could only fight with consumption. Chapter 990. According to the Xian, the bone dragon in front of him was a spirit formed from bones. Except for Yinglong, who had a heaven-defying foundation, most of the spirit race were not very intelligent when they were born. Like the myriad spirits ancestor and the yin-yang ancestor, they had been through many generations of masters and had seen many things, so their intelligence slowly grew. The Xian was also an artifact spirit, but the Xian was obviously a lot more stupid. This bone dragon had been staying in the deep sea and had come into contact with very few living creatures, so its intelligence was definitely not high. It was not difficult to take down such a fool. Although there were no large groups of monster beasts in White Bone Gully, a small number of monster beasts often strayed here. Even if it was a battle of attrition, he had to try to make this bone dragon collapse as soon as possible. In the sea outside the bone dragon's whirlpool, there was a large amount of Gui water hell flame. Wang Daoyuan waved his hand, and more than 20 black fireballs flew out of the Gui water hell flame, which also carried a large amount of thunder law. This was the Gui Water Divine Thunder, which was displayed with the help of the Divine Ability domain. It did not consume his own spiritual power, only some spiritual sense. When controlling the Divine Ability domain, it did not affect the operation of the cultivation method. As long as the cultivation method was operated, it would continuously produce spiritual sense power. Wang Daoyuan's essence, energy, and spirit were unlimited when fighting. Only his body and Yuanying's endurance could limit him. Controlling the spiritual power in the divine ability domain to cast spells like this, Yuanying did not bear much pressure. More than 20 Gui Water Divine Thunder smashed together, and the whirlpool condensed by the Bone Dragon was indeed not weak. Blocking all the Gui Water Divine Thunder, the surface of the whirlpool did not change much. However, the Xian, who was suppressing the whirlpool, clearly felt the power of the whirlpool weaken. Since it was effective, he continued to attack with Gui Water Divine Thunder. After a dozen breaths of time, Wang Daoyuan shot out more than 200 Gui Water Divine Thunder. The power of the whirlpool was less than half of before, and the Xian cauldron continued to press down. The cauldron was less than 10 feet away from the Bone Dragon. More than 20 Gui Water Divine Thunder condensed again, and the blue flames in the Bone Dragon's eyes flickered violently. Then the Bone Dragon's body collapsed, and all the bones splashed. The seawater gathered by the whirlpool also surged towards the Xian cauldron. The Xian cauldron was hit by dozens of pieces of bone and was pushed back more than 10 miles by the impact of the ocean. The only intact head of the Bone Flood Dragon opened its mouth and tried to swallow Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan immediately felt a huge suction force. He grabbed onto the rock next to him and barely stabilized himself. The skeletal flood dragon sucked in a large amount of seawater and scattered white bones. These white bones fused with its flood dragon head, forming a new body. This surprised Wang Daoyuan. The Bone Flood Dragon had such a method. As long as its head was not destroyed, its body could regenerate. At this moment, he summoned the Yinglong mark between his eyebrows. As soon as Yinglong appeared, the might of a divine beast swept out in all directions. The Bone Flood Dragon's suction force paused for a moment. Even though it was a spirit race creature, it was still born from the Flood Dragon's undying bones. It was inevitable that it would inherit some of the Flood Dragon's characteristics. A Flood Dragon with a mixed bloodline would naturally be very afraid of the dragon race's ancestor. Yinglong was a combination of the 5 elements divine beast avatars, so it was also an avatar. As long as its soul was not destroyed, its avatar would not be destroyed. There was nothing to be afraid of. Wang Daoyuan controlled Yinglong to attack the Bone Flood Dragon's 2 eye sockets. There were 2 ghostly blue flames in the Bone Flood Dragon's eye sockets. Every time it used a technique, these 2 flames would flicker violently. Presumably, these flames were where the Bone Flood Dragon's spirituality was concentrated. Seeing Yinglong fly over, the Bone Flood Dragon wanted to dodge, but the Xian cauldron pressed down on it again. Without the obstruction of the whirlpool, the surrounding seawater was under the control of Wang Daoyuan's theurgy domain. With the suppression of the Xian cauldron and Wang Daoyuan's control of the seawater, the Bone Flood Dragon's escape speed was slower than the sea turtles on the shore. Yinglong quickly drilled into its eye sockets, opened its mouth, and swallowed the 2 flames into its stomach. Yinglong was never picky about any kind of energy. It had no problem swallowing demonic aura directly, so what was a little ghostly dust? After losing the 2 flames, the Bone Flood Dragon instantly collapsed, and its bones scattered all over the ground. The Xian cauldron immediately put away the Bone Flood Dragon's head and flew in front of Wang Daoyuan. The Bone Flood Dragon's horn was more than 20 feet long and as thick as an adult's thigh. The yin qi contained in it was enough to temper the yuanying of more than 10 people. Wang Daoyuan put away the Xian cauldron and Yinglong. Zhouwan also walked out of her hiding place. I really underestimated you in the past. You can actually kill a rank 6 bone flood dragon. You still underestimate me in many ways. This is not the place to talk. The battle earlier caused too much of a commotion and might attract demon beasts. It's better for us to leave as soon as possible. The two went back the way they came and soon arrived at the Azure Dragon Bridge. When they came, they scattered some blood madness powder, which attracted a large number of rank 5 demon beasts to fight. These demon beasts were really fighting. They were still fighting until now. The two directly went over and saved some blood madness powder. When they swam more than 3,000 miles west of the Azure Dragon Bridge, they suddenly heard fighting sounds coming from ahead. Wang Daoyuan naturally did not want to cause trouble. The two hid their figures and wanted to quietly go over. After turning a corner in the Ink Shark Valley, they saw the situation ahead. A young woman in the middle stage of yuanying and a middle-aged man in the early stage of yuanying were besieged by 6 rank 5 low-grade sharks. These two people's faces were very unfamiliar, but Wang Daoyuan was still very familiar with the method they used. It was the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong's method. He secretly glanced at Zhou Wan. Clearly, he and the Black Ice Fairy were innocent, but he always felt like he was caught cheating. When Zhou Wan encountered this kind of thing, her intelligence instantly soared. She immediately noticed that Wang Daoyuan was not normal. What, you met an old flame? Wang Daoyuan was startled. I just know her. This is the Black Ice Fairy I mentioned to you. I only helped them a few times, and they also paid me. I'm absolutely innocent. Zhou Wan looked at him with narrowed eyes. Really? I'm loyal to Lord Shadow Master. I definitely don't have an old flame. Go and save them. After all, when you formed your nascent soul, they also helped. The people who helped you died in front of you. I'm afraid you will feel guilty for the rest of your life. Maybe you will even have an inner demon. After you break through to the divine transformation realm, we will settle the score. Wang Daoyuan activated his divine ability domain. 6 Gue Water Divine Thunders appeared out of nowhere. The sharks were unable to resist the Gue Water Divine Thunders and died instantly. Wang Daoyuan took away the 5 sharks. He did not dare to talk to them and directly walked over. The Black Ice Fairy seemed to recognize him and shouted, "Big Brother Zhou, is that you?" Looking at Zhou Wan's murderous eyes, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to answer and walked forward with fear. The Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong cleaned up the remaining shark's body and followed closely behind. After all, with their strength, the Sunset Abyss was too dangerous. Wang Daoyuan silently opened the way in front. He released his Yuanying Peak stage aura and rich dragon chi. No demonic beast dared to court death. Wang Daoyuan and Zhou Wan returned to the cave residence on the Lone Star Island. Not long after, the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong came to the entrance of the cave residence with some gifts. Zhou Wan walked to the entrance of the cave residence as if she was the hostess. "Daoyu, what can I do for you?" The Black Ice Fairy was stunned. Although she suspected Wang Daoyuan's identity, she did not ask anything since they did not talk. Uncle Zhong cupped his hands and said, "Daoyu saved me and my servant. We are here to express our gratitude." Zhou Wan looked into the cave residence and saw Wang Daoyuan's guilty look. She snorted. "Come in." The Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong both walked into the cave residence and showed their original appearances. Uncle Zhong cupped his hands and said, "I am Wen Zhong. Thank you, Daoyu, for your help. If it were not for Daoyu, I'm afraid we would have been buried in the shark's stomach. In the early years, we were in trouble on Demon Hunter Island. Fortunately, Daoyu helped us. If it were not for him, I'm afraid I would not have lived until now, let alone forming my nascent soul." Although Daoyu's appearance and methods are not similar to Daoyu's, their temperaments are the same. I wonder. Chapter 991. Wang Daoyuan played dumb on the side, and Zhou Wan glared at him. There's no need to test me. My husband is the one who saved you. However, you've already paid him, so we don't owe each other anything. This time, I helped you kill those sharks because they were in the way. Saving you was just something I did along the way. After saying that, she even pulled Wang Daoyuan's right hand and placed it on her waist, appearing very intimate. Wang Daoyuan also forced a smile on his face. Black Ice Fairy, Uncle Zhong, long time no see. This is my Dao companion, Zhou Wan. Black Ice Fairy bowed. Little sister Wen Bingxian greets sister Zhou Wan. These words were somewhat ambiguous. Zhou Wan glared at Wang Daoyuan and asked with a voice transmission, "It's the first time we meet and you're already calling me sister. Are you planning to be your concubine? I really didn't expect you to be so capable." Wang Daoyuan's right hand was still wrapped around Zhou Wan's waist, and he felt a bit hot. This was Zhou Wan using the Scarlet Wan Nirvana fire to punish him. He definitely didn't dare to resist, so he could only endure it and force a smile. After all, Zhou Wan was a member of the Zhou family, so her etiquette was very considerate. "Little sister, there's no need to be so polite." After saying that, she removed her disguise technique and revealed her true appearance. Black Ice Fairy also removed her disguise technique and revealed her true appearance. Both of them were peerless beauties, and their looks were about the same, but their temperaments were very different. Zhou Wan was graceful and luxurious, and she had been in a high position for many years, so she had a bit of dignity. Black Ice Fairy's face was as cold as ice, and there was also a bit of sadness. The two of them seemed to be competing in their looks, and at the same time, some spiritual power was emitted. In the small cave, there was ice and fire. Half of the cave was hot, and the other half was bone-chilling cold. This silent battle was too fierce, and it was very easy to hurt the people around. Especially Wang Daoyuan's hands, they were almost cooked. In order to save his hand, Wang Daoyuan hurriedly changed the topic. "Uncle Zhong, back then, your foundation was damaged by the cold. Logically speaking, you shouldn't have any hope of forming your nascent soul. I don't know what kind of fortuitous encounter he had that allowed him to repair his foundation and even shatter his core to form his nascent soul." Uncle Zhong was also a shrewd old man. He knew that this stalemate couldn't go on forever. After the internal strife in the Wen family, some of the family members who were loyal to the old master escaped from Mystic Island. I was only able to repair my foundation with the help of one of my clansmen. After recovering my foundation, I didn't have much lifespan left. I wanted to take a gamble and forcefully form my nascent soul. Maybe it's because my talent is too poor and my lightning tribulation isn't strong, that's why I'm here today. This is also not easy. However, why did you enter the setting sun abyss? With Miss Wen's cultivation, it would take some time for her to break through to the soul formation stage. It was still too early for her to look for yin and yang spiritual items. Furthermore, with your strength, it wouldn't be easy for you two to survive in the decimating heaven abyss. The Black Ice Fairy didn't compete with Zhou Wan in terms of appearance. Zhou Wan also put away the Scarlet Wan Nirvana fire. Seeing that the atmosphere had eased, Uncle Zhong said, "The two of us didn't come here to look for spiritual items, but to find the old master." Back then, when the old master was at the peak of his cultivation, he asked the Wen family's grand elder to take out a rank 6 yin and yang spiritual item to break through. However, the rank 6 yin and yang spiritual item was destroyed. In order to break through to the soul formation stage, the old master personally came to the setting sun abyss to look for yin and yang spiritual items. Unexpectedly, he didn't return to Mystic Island. However, his soul tablet was still intact. He must still be there. He didn't return for all these years. He must be trapped somewhere. Until now, more than 300 years have passed. After I formed my nascent soul, I encountered the Blood Shark and the Seven Stars Alliance. We didn't have a place to stay in other places, so we came to the Lone Star Island with you. We usually hunt demon beasts for a living. We save some spirit stones and buy spiritual items like the Mad Blood Powder. We use this opportunity to enter the setting sun abyss to look for the Old Master. We've been searching for more than 20 years now, but we still haven't found anything. Uncle Zhong was a complete old fox. He sounded so pitiful because he wanted Qin Haodong to help him. Even if Zhou Wan wasn't by his side, Wang Daoyuan wouldn't take on this task. Moreover, Zhou Wan was by his side, so he didn't dare to agree. When the old master of the Wen family left, he was at the peak of yuanying. Now, he might have broken through to the soul formation stage. It's useless for you to go to a place that can trap him. It's better to cultivate well. When you reach the peak of yuanying, it won't be too late to go down to the sea to look for him. Wang Daoyuan didn't want to help, so the Black Ice Fairy and Uncle Zhong couldn't stay any longer. The situation in the cave residence now seemed like the mistress was looking for trouble with the mistress. If this spread out, the young lady of the Wen family wouldn't be able to see anyone anymore. Uncle Zhong cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Daoyu, for saving us. These are some gifts to show my respect. You don't have to do this. I don't lack any cultivation resources. You can keep them. Miss Wen, you should improve your strength as soon as possible. This Lone Star Island is close to the Mystic Ice Island. You should be careful." After a few excuses, Uncle Zhong took the gifts and left the cave residence with the Black Ice Fairy. After the two of them left, Zhou Wan closed the door of the cave residence and activated all the arrays. She even took out her sword and waved it in front of Wang Daoyuan. This profound ice fairy is really a heavenly beauty. If you want to be lecherous, I don't believe that there is nothing between you and her. I admit that I have a desire, but I don't have the guts. It's fine if you don't believe me, but can't you see that the Black Ice Fairy is a virgin? Zhou Wan put away her sword. If it wasn't for the fact that I saw nothing wrong with her, this sword would have landed on your body already. That's right. The Black Ice Fairy's appearance is almost as beautiful as Lord Shadow Master. I didn't do anything out of line. The others aren't as beautiful as her. Nothing will happen to me. Hearing this, Zhou Wan had a smug expression. Most of her anger dissipated. Wang Daoyuan let out a sigh of relief. Rank 6 pure yang spiritual items are hard to find in the Sunset Abyss. They can only be found in the center of the Sunset Abyss. That's where the Golden Crow's corpse fell. The surrounding space has been shattered, forming many unstable small mystic realms. There are also many spatial rifts. It's too dangerous for you to go down. Why don't you stay here and I'll go down myself? Don't worry. Although the Blood Shadow's inheritance isn't as good as the 4 top factions, it's still very powerful. However, even the Valley of Myriad Beasts was far inferior to Blood Shadow in terms of these bizarre techniques. The Blood Shadow couldn't compare to the top 5 factions back then. They didn't have enough pure yin and pure yang spiritual items. In order to find such spiritual items, our ancestors went deep into the West Sea many times. There are also many spatial rifts there. Our ancestors created some magic tools that can sense spatial rifts. I brought some with me this time. Apart from that, there are also magic tools that can sense pure yang qi. I also have many life-saving methods for powerful enemies. How can I be a burden to you? Since you have these methods, it'll be easy. The pressure at the bottom of the sea is great. We've been underwater for so long and are very tired. Let's rest for a while. I also need some time to deal with that unmelting bone. The best way to recover from exhaustion was to sleep. Cultivators were no exception. Zhou often fell asleep due to excessive exhaustion. After she fell asleep, Wang Daoyuan finally dared to check the condition of his right hand. Fortunately, Zhou knew her limits. She only poured a large amount of fire spiritual energy into his meridians, causing his entire right hand to feel a burning sensation. His physical body was very strong. Zhou fire spiritual energy couldn't hurt his meridians. He used water spiritual energy to dissipate the fire spiritual energy. Everything was fine. Inside the space of the spiritual pearl, the Xian cauldron was beside the spiritual fire of life. It was constantly extracting life force from the fire. The bone dragon's horn had been removed from the cauldron. Its skull had been refined by the Xian cauldron. The horn was entwined with thick black qi. It contained so much yin qi that the skull couldn't compare to. The Xian cauldron wrapped the horn with life force. When the black qi came into contact with the life force, it emitted a sizzling sound of corrosion. Although there was a lot of corpse qi and death qi in the unmelting bone, it was still water without a source. However, the life force in the spiritual fire of life was endless. After half a year, the corpse qi and death qi in the unmelting bone were exhausted. Chapter 992. After removing the impure energy from the unmelted bones, only pure yin energy was left. Even though it was not pure yin qi, it was no longer harmful to use it to refine the yuanying. The black qi that lingered around the bone of immortality had also disappeared, and the entire horn's brilliance was restrained. It looked like the horn of an ordinary beast, without anything special about it. Only after probing it with his divine sense could he feel the majestic yin qi inside. Wang Daoyuan placed it beside the Gui water death flame. Even if it could not purify the yin qi inside, it could at least ensure that the yin qi would not be lost. Half a year had passed in the space of the spirit pearl, and less than 2 days had passed in the outside world. Zhou was still adjusting her state, and Wang Daoyuan was also meditating in the cave. After half a month, the two of them had adjusted their condition. They went to the crafting room to buy some blood madness powder and fluorescent beads before leaving Lone Star Island, ready to enter the sunset abyss again. The place with yang attribute spiritual items was at the center of the sunset abyss. There were many groups of demonic beasts in the sea, and these demonic beasts were distributed in different depths of the sea. The entire sunset abyss seemed to be covered by a large net formed by countless demonic beasts. The center of the setting sun abyss was also the center of the countless large nets. If they wanted to go there, they had to pass through the nets. The last time they went to White Bone Gully, except for the azure dragon beam, they could completely avoid all the demonic beasts. This time, there were more than 10 places where they had to encounter demonic beasts, and even more places where they could encounter groups of demonic beasts. Even if there were no groups of demonic beasts, it was inevitable that they would encounter lone wolves like the dragon scale shark. A safe place like the Ink Shark Valley was extremely rare. Even at the center of the sunset abyss, there were many unstable secret realms and spatial rifts scattered everywhere. Especially these spatial rifts, even soul formation cultivators could not guarantee that they would be safe. If they wanted to avoid most groups of demonic beasts, they had to choose the place and route to enter the sea carefully. The map they got from the Starbright Pavilion marked the locations of the larger groups of demonic beasts, so it was much more convenient to choose the route. The entire sunset abyss had a radius of more than 200,000 miles, and there was only one suitable place to enter the sea to enter the center. The two of them took the flying boat and flew towards the southeast. Half a day later, they could already see a sizable island in the southeast. This was the northernmost point of the Seven Stars Alliance's sphere of influence, Sunfall Island. This island was located at the southernmost tip of the sunset abyss. The entrance to the center of the sunset abyss was only slightly more than 1,000 miles away from the sunset island. Wang Daoyuan didn't take the cultivators of the Seven Stars Alliance seriously either. The Seven Stars Alliance and Blood Shark were in the midst of a fierce battle. In the Qixing Sea Xiuxian community, soul formation cultivators were a deterrent force that could not be easily mobilized. Yuanying Peak and late-stage cultivators were already the backbone of the community. It was impossible for a place like Sunfall Island to have a divine transformation cultivator. Having a late-stage Yuanying cultivator in charge was already very good. With this bit of strength, what could he do even if he came out? When they arrived at a spot 1,000 miles north of the Falling Sun Island, they put away the flying boat and entered the sea. The Yuanying cultivators on the Falling Sun Island used their divine senses to probe the area, but they didn't dare to come out. After the two of them entered the sea, they tried their best to hide their bodies and auras to avoid being discovered by demon beasts. Soon, the two of them reached the bottom of the sea. Not far ahead was a group of underwater volcanoes. Fiery red lava was still gushing out from many of the volcanoes. When the lava came into contact with the sea water, it quickly turned black. With the lava illuminating the area, the nearby sea water appeared dark red. Wang Daoyuan determined the location of this place based on the treasure map and recognized it as the Obsidian Mountain. This place produced many valuable refining materials, and there were even many 6th-grade refining materials. The most common material here was obsidian, which was how the Obsidian Mountain got its name. However, it was very difficult to forge, so it wasn't very valuable. Unfortunately, the Obsidian Mountain was also a dangerous place in the Sunset Abyss. Not many people dared to come here to search for treasures. The lava contained large amounts of fire and earth spirit energy. A place with volcanoes was equivalent to having a large spirit vein. As long as there was an abundance of spirit energy at the bottom of the sea, there would be large amounts of spirit plants and corals. These things would attract small low-level demon beasts, which would then attract large high-level demon beasts. Although the Obsidian Mountain was a dangerous place, it wasn't too big. It only had a radius of 2,000 to 3,000 miles. There were no other dangerous places on either side, so it wasn't difficult to go around. The two of them changed direction and went around the west side of the Obsidian Mountain. In order to prevent a sneak attack from demon beasts, the soul-chasing compass had already been activated. The journey was quite smooth. They didn't encounter any demon beast attacks. However, they came at the wrong time. When they went around the west side of the Obsidian Mountain, a volcano suddenly erupted violently. The huge explosion spread out, and the entire seabed shook violently. Obviously, such a huge change was rare at the bottom of the sea. A large number of demon beasts panicked and fled from the Obsidian Mountain. A large number of green and blue light spots appeared on the compass. There were at least hundreds of 5th-grade demon beasts. With Wang Daoyuan's strength, it wasn't difficult to take down 20 or 30 5th-grade demon beasts. However, if hundreds of them came together, even a soul formation cultivator wouldn't be able to handle it. Zhou Wan was so scared that her face changed. What should we do? Do you want to hide in your portable mystic realm together? Wang Daoyuan comforted her. Don't be afraid, I have other ways. Then, his body flickered with a bright yellow light, and he quickly turned into a bright yellow true dragon about 20 feet long. Quickly ride on my back. I'm faster in the water when I transform into a dragon. It's just that the dragon aura isn't easy to hide, and it's easy to attract 6th-grade dragons. We can't care so much now. We have to escape as fast as we can. His dragon aura was extremely pure and was extremely attractive to all dragon species. 5th-grade dragons didn't have the guts to come over, but 6th-grade dragons wouldn't let go of such an excellent delicacy. Zhou Wan's movements were also very agile. She grabbed 2 dragon horns and rode on Wang Daoyuan's neck. I told you to ride on my back, not my neck. I can hold the dragon horns on my neck and sit steadily. Don't worry about that. Run for your life. Wang Daoyuan was also helpless. I'm a fast swimmer, sit tight. With that, he swung his dragon tail and quickly swam forward. Previously, it was already not bad if he could swim 5,000 to 6,000 miles in 2 hours. Now, his speed wasn't much slower than flying in the air. Even a 5th-grade shark would have a hard time catching up to him. The demon beasts that escaped from Obsidian Mountain were quickly left far behind. The eruption of the volcano was much bigger than Wang Daoyuan imagined. It wasn't just the demon beasts of Obsidian Mountain that were alarmed. Along the way, they encountered many demon beasts that were running around. Wang Daoyuan didn't dare to stay for too long. When he encountered demon beasts that couldn't dodge in time, he could only use spells to quickly kill them. He didn't even have time to clean up the demon beasts' corpses, let alone get rid of the smell of blood. The eruption of Obsidian Mountain still had some benefits. The demon beasts in several dangerous areas were swept away by the demon beasts that escaped from Obsidian Mountain. Wang Daoyuan rushed through 5 or 6 dangerous areas in one go. After swimming for nearly 2 miles, no other demon beasts dared to come over to die. Ever since the 5-spirit immortal art could cultivate blood chi, he didn't have to worry about draining his blood chi. It wasn't a problem for him to maintain his dragon form for a few days, but the pressure on his body would be very great. In order to avoid attracting a 6th-grade dragon species, he still couldn't keep moving forward in his dragon form. He was about to return to his human form when a blue light spot suddenly appeared on the soul-chasing compass in his sea of consciousness. This 5th-grade high-grade soul-chasing compass could only detect the tracks of deity transformation cultivators and 6th-grade demon beasts at most. The light spot for deity transformation cultivators and 6th-grade demon beasts was blue. This was being targeted by 6th-grade demon beasts. He transmitted his voice to Zhou. We're being targeted by a 6th-grade demon beast. This demon beast's consciousness isn't too strong. It should be a 6th-grade low-grade demon beast. My physical strength has greatly increased in dragon form. It's not that I can't fight a 6th-grade demon beast, but I don't have the confidence to protect you. Be prepared. If you can't escape, immediately enter my portable secret realm. Chapter 993. If they really fought with a rank 6 monster, ordinary peak Yuanian cultivators wouldn't be of much help. Although Zhou carried the good things left behind by the Blood Shadow ancestors, she was not strong enough. She was also a fire attribute cultivator, so all her methods would be greatly reduced in the sea. Hearing this, Zhou quickly asked, "Then what about you?" "Don't worry, my essence, energy, and spirit are perfect. My strength is not much weaker than a soul formation cultivator, but my divine ability will be suppressed by the power of law. Monsters have a very shallow understanding of the law, and their strength depends on their bloodline. If they can't use the power of law to suppress my divine ability, I won't have much of an advantage. If I'm really no match for it, I'll also hide in my portable space. Sit tight, I'll try to get rid of this monster first." Zhou nodded and grabbed Wang Daoyuan's dragon horn. Wang Daoyuan swung his dragon tail and swam forward with all his might. The speed of this rank 6 monster was really not a joke. Even if he used the true dragon flight technique with all his strength, the distance was still slowly shrinking. Wang Daoyuan activated his divine ability domain, and everything within a radius of hundreds of miles was under his control. With the help of his divine ability domain, he roughly knew what was chasing after them. "Lord Shadow Master, we're in luck this time." "What do you mean? Is a rank 6 monster easy to deal with?" "I can sense this monster through my domain. It has an obvious dragon aura, so it should be a dragon, but its spiritual energy fluctuations are of the metal attribute. Dragons are born with the ability to swim and can use the power of the sea to fight. But it's not a water attribute dragon, so it can't use the water to cast spells. And I can use my domain to control the sea water and slow it down. I also sense that there are many rank 5 monsters around us spying on us. But they can sense the aura of a rank 6 dragon and don't dare to approach. Let's take advantage of this dragon species prestige to drive away the demonic beasts in various dangerous places. Anyway, you have the power to detect spatial cracks, so let's bring it to the center of the sunset abyss and use the spatial cracks to deal with it. After saying that, he controlled the sea water behind him to block the rank 6 dragon. The strength of the metal-type dragon species was indeed not very strong in the sea. Under Wang Daoyuan's obstruction, its speed was significantly reduced. Wang Daoyuan still wanted to borrow the prestige of this rank 6 dragon species to intimidate the other demonic beasts. Naturally, he would not suppress it too ruthlessly. The spiritual power fluctuation on the dragon species body instantly increased, and its speed increased again, basically keeping the same speed as Wang Daoyuan. From the looks of it, he should have used some kind of innate spell. The two sides were more than 200 miles apart. If it weren't for the fact that they were in the deep sea, it could be said that they were very close. But in this deep sea, the seawater greatly restricted divine sense. Spells and other means all needed to be controlled by one's divine sense. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to hit anyone. Wang Daoyuan could use his divine ability domain to control spells and attack the dragon species. However, now that he wanted to borrow the power of the dragon species, it was not a wise choice to make a move. Both parties maintained a distance of more than 200 miles as they swam towards the deepest part of the sunset abyss. This was much smoother than the last time. There was not a single demonic beast blocking the way. 4 hours later, Wang Daoyuan sensed the residual yang qi in the seawater. In the entire Qianyuan realm, yang qi mainly came from the sun. Some fire elemental spiritual items could also produce yang qi, but not much. They were at the bottom of the sea, so the sun's yang qi couldn't penetrate. The only thing that could make the seawater carry yang qi was the golden crow that had fallen here years ago. Lady Shadow Lord, it's time for you to shine. I have already sensed the yang qi in the seawater. According to the treasure map, a spatial rift can appear at any time. Zhou Luan took out a silver mirror. With me around, don't worry and continue forward. The mirror was about 4 inches in diameter. It didn't have any decorations and looked like an ordinary mirror. Zhou Luan injected a stream of spiritual power into the mirror, and the mirror immediately emitted a silver light. The silver light was rather extraordinary. When one looked at the mirror directly, they could see the silver light, as if they were looking at a lamp. However, when the light shone on other things, it didn't reflect light at all. The sea remained pitch black. This mirror is called the silver light void splitting mirror. It contains spatial laws. Places with stable space won't reflect silver light at all. If you encounter places with unstable space, you will see dim silver light spots. If you encounter spatial rifts, dazzling silver stripes will appear. This silver light is extremely penetrative. Even in the deep sea, it can spread more than 100 miles. Pay attention to the places where the light is reflected. Cultivators who didn't master spatial laws couldn't sense spatial rifts unless they were right in front of them. Spatial rifts weren't all stable in one place. Where the space was unstable, spatial rifts could appear at any time. It was impossible to guard against them. Once they hit a spatial rift, they would be directly torn apart. Few people below the Mahayana realm could be spared. Wang Daoyuan continued to swim forward. After 5 minutes, a bright stripe suddenly appeared in front of him. This stripe stretched across the bottom of the sea. Cracks constantly appeared on the rock and hot lava gushed out. In the sea, the lava quickly cooled and turned into black rock again. According to the treasure map, These lava rivers were formed by the fall of the Golden Crow and shattered the rock layer at the bottom of the sea. As long as they followed the lava river, they would be able to find the place where the Golden Crow fell. The lava contained extremely strong yang qi. It could be used to refine the yuanying. If they could withstand the pressure here, they could also avoid the spatial rifts. As long as they stayed here for a few years, they would be able to absorb enough yang qi to turn the yuanying into an essence spirit. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.